The Priestess's time travel. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 951, The Old Farmer. Su Qingni waved her hand after hearing what her daughter said. No need, let's go to the carpenter shop in the county to buy ready-made furniture tomorrow. It's too slow to let Xiuzi make it. Do we have to sleep on the floor every day? But Dad, Su Qingni said worriedly, do we have enough money? It will cost a lot of money to buy ready-made furniture, right? Let's let Brother Xiuzi make it. Su Qingni also said, Dad, you spent a lot of money to hire someone to help with the play today, right? Our family just split up, and we only have more than 20 taels of money on hand. I'm afraid most of the money will be spent if you do this. Where will the money be to buy furniture? Su Qingni said, don't worry about the money. I found a big Ganoderma lucidum when I went into the mountains a few days ago. It should be quite old. When the time comes, I will pick it and sell it, and I can get money in exchange. Su Qingni frowned. Dad, Ganoderma lucidum doesn't grow on cliffs, right? How dangerous is that? Forget it, let's not use Ganoderma lucidum. Isn't it just enduring sleeping on the floor for a few months? It's okay. Su Qingni said, winter will come soon. How can we sleep on the floor all the time? We might get cold. Don't worry. The Ganoderma lucidum is not growing on the cliff, but at the root of a big tree, covered by weeds. If I hadn't found it by chance, I wouldn't have found it. That's good. Su Qingni was relieved. I'll go into the mountains with you tomorrow. Su Qingni chuckled twice. Forget it, you're so small. Wait until you have practiced the health-preserving exercises to a certain level and your body is better, then Dad will take you into the mountains. Su Qingni was disappointed, and his handsome face swelled up like a bun. Su Qingni laughed. Tomorrow Dad will take you to the county town. Su Qingni was happy. After dinner in the evening, there were no suitable kitchen utensils. The three of them only had porridge and a plate of wild vegetables without oil. Su Qingni and Su Qingni walked around the yard a few times to digest the food at Su Qingni's request, and then began to practice health-preserving exercises. After practicing for an hour and a half, Su Qingni urged the two children to go to bed. Early the next morning, because there were no outsiders at home, Su Qingni did not take the two children out, but took them to practice boxing in the yard. Today, Su Qingni could barely punch the fourth punch, but he was sweating all over, as if he had fallen into the water. Su Qingni asked Su Qingni to boil hot water for Su Qingni to wash up. She drank a bowl of porridge and went into the mountain. Ganoderma lucidum is indeed there. After the original body found the Ganoderma lucidum, he originally thought of picking it the next day to sell it for money, and then divide the money equally among the four sons. As a result, before he could go up the mountain to pick the Ganoderma lucidum, he was blocked by his three sons and asked to split the family. Haha. If the three sons knew that they lost such a sum of money because of the separation, would they regret it? Su Qingni thought happily and found the Ganoderma lucidum, according to the memory of the old man Su. What made Su Qingni happy was that this Ganoderma lucidum was over 100 years old and could be sold for a lot of money. Then, it could not be sold in the county. Their county town is relatively small. Not only will the pharmacy not be able to give too much money, but the news of their selling of Ganoderma lucidum will soon spread throughout the county town, and they may have someone target them. Even if Su Qingni can get rid of those people, it will be troublesome if the news spreads to the village. Needless to say, the three sons of the original body will definitely come to ask him for money, and other people in the village may also find various excuses to borrow money from him. As for paying back the money, it's better not to count on it. Su Qingni put the Ganoderma lucidum into a basket, covered it with weeds, and quickly went down the mountain. She was very fast, and it only took her an hour to go up and down the mountain. After returning home, Su Qingni asked Su Qingni and Su Qingni to pack their luggage. Huh? The two children were confused by this order. Su Qingni smiled and said to them, take you to the provincial capital for 2 days. Surprise flashed in the eyes of the two children. They had only been to the county town at most. They had only heard about the provincial capital from others. It was said to be very prosperous, which made them envious and wanted to see it with their own eyes. Unexpectedly, they also had the opportunity to go to the provincial capital. Dad, what are we going to do in the provincial capital? Su Qingni asked. Su Qingni, sell Ganoderma lucidum. After saying that, she put down the basket and went out. Su Qingni went to Uncle Su's house to borrow an ox cart. Uncle Su's family conditions are the best among the 3 brothers of Old Man Su. His family has more fields than the other 2 brothers, and they also raise cows. Su Qingni told Uncle Su that she was depressed because of her 3 sons, and wanted to go out for a walk and buy some furniture by the way. Uncle Su sympathized with his brother's feelings and lent the ox cart to Su Qingni. Su Qingni drove the ox cart and took the 2 children out of the village. The reason she told Uncle Su was told by Uncle Su, which made the 3 brothers of the Su family receive another round of contempt from the villagers. The provincial capital is a bit far from the village, and it takes nearly half a month on the road. If Su Qingni had his original body, this trip would be considered a long journey for the ancients, and he would definitely not be able to bear it. However, after practicing the health-preserving exercises, Su Qingni's health improved a little, and Su Qingni asked him to practice the health-preserving exercises while sitting in the car. In this way, the half-month journey did not harm Su Qingni's health. On the contrary, his health improved a little because of the exercises. Arriving at the provincial capital, the 2 children who had never been far away were shocked. The provincial capital was really prosperous. There were many shops and stalls on the street, selling a wide variety of things, many of which they did not recognize. Su Qingni called the 2 children to stay at the inn first, settled them down temporarily, and then took them out. Su Qingni was holding a cloth bag in her hand. The 2 children thought it was filled with Ganoderma lucidum, but they did not know that there was an extra coat inside. Su Qingni took out a handful of copper coins and gave them to the 2 children, telling them not to make trouble, and let them go shopping. He found a deserted place to change clothes and change his appearance before entering various medicine shops to inquire. Finally, Su Qingni chose a medicine shop with a good reputation, called the shopkeeper of the medicine shop, and took out the Ganoderma lucidum. When the shopkeeper saw such a big Ganoderma lucidum, his eyes widened, and he quickly called Su Qingni to the yard behind the medicine shop. Su Qingni didn't say much and asked the shopkeeper to name a price. The shopkeeper reported a number. Su Qingni shook her head and reported a number herself. The 2 bargained and finally sold the Ganoderma lucidum to the medicine shop for 150 taels. Su Qingni asked the shopkeeper to give her 120 taels of silver notes, and the remaining 30 taels, 2 10-tael silver ingots, and the rest in small change. The shopkeeper had a good temper and agreed to Su Qingni's request. Su Qingni wrapped the money in cloth with satisfaction and left the medicine shop. After leaving the medicine shop, Su Qingni made a lot of money in the provincial capital. After not finding anyone following her, she changed back to her original clothes and changed back to the appearance of Old Man Su, and then returned to the inn. Chapter 952, Old Farmer 7. Su Qingni and Su Qingni had already returned to the inn, and the excitement on their faces had not yet disappeared. However, the 2 did not buy anything. Even though Su Qingni gave them money, neither of them was a child who would spend money recklessly. Even when it was time to eat, the 2 did not order food, but waited obediently for Su Qingni to come back and eat together. Su Qingni said to the 2 happily, "Come on, Dad will take you to eat delicious food, and we will eat in the restaurant." "Dad, no." Su Qingni said hurriedly, "The dishes in the restaurant must be very expensive, we can just eat at the small stall outside." Su Qingni knew that the 2 children were worried about not having enough money, and smiled, "Eat with confidence, we have money." Su Qingni's eyes lit up, and he lowered his voice and asked, "Dad, did you sell that thing? How much did you sell it for?" Su Qingni stretched out her palm and compared it. Su Qingni was surprised. 12 taels of silver. Su Qingni smiled, "It's 120 taels. 100. Su Qingni took a deep breath, her face full of disbelief. Su Qingni was also unbelievable, and the 2 children were stunned by the number. Su Qingni smiled, "We have money now, you can eat whatever you want." Then she took the 2 children out. The 2 children followed their father in a daze, and they never came back to their senses. It was not until Su Qingni ordered the food and the food was on the table, and the 2 children saw the big fish and meat, that they felt real. Su Qingni ordered a plate of fish, a roast chicken, a plate of roast meat and a vegetable, and placed them in front of the 2 children, making the 2 children's saliva almost flow out. They haven't eaten meat for a long time, and they are greedy. Eat it quickly. Su Qingni picked up the chopsticks with a smile, picked up 2 chicken legs and put them in the bowls of the 2 children. Although the two children were greedy for meat, they were very filial to their father and put the chicken legs back into Su Qingni's bowl. Su Qingni put it back, and then picked up a chicken wing for herself. I like to eat chicken wings, you eat chicken legs. The two children knew their father's intentions, and did not put the chicken legs back, but lowered their heads to eat. The two children's stomachs were swollen after eating this meal, but they had small appetites and only ate half of the 4 dishes. Su Qingni simply paid more money to buy the plates from the restaurant and a food box to pack the food and take it back. She had not thought about packing it, but the two children were reluctant to waste so many good dishes, so they kept stuffing them into their stomachs. Su Qingni had to stop them and pack the food. The next day, Su Qingni took the two children around the provincial capital again, bought some small things they liked, and took them home. Instead of going back to the village directly, they went to the county town first, bought furniture in the county town, and asked the shop staff to deliver it to their homes. They also bought a lot of other daily necessities and a lot of rice. The father and his 2 sons went home happily. When they returned to the village, it was already dark. The villagers stayed at home and no one was hanging around outside. This was just right, so that the things Su Qingni bought would not be seen by them, so as to avoid being talked about. The furniture would not arrive until the next day, and the 3 of them slept on the floor that night. After nearly a month, Su Sihe and Su Qingni had already mastered the health-preserving exercises, and their health had improved a lot. They would not get sick even if they slept on the floor. The next day, the furniture was delivered to the Su family. This big move caused a lot of discussion among the people in the village, but they could all understand it. Old man Su and his 2 children were almost driven out of the house, and there was no furniture in the haunted house. If they wanted to live, they had to buy furniture quickly, right? The 3 daughters-in-law, Zhao, Jin, and Sun, felt uncomfortable. They calculated the money that old man Su might have spent on hiring Taoist priests and buying furniture, and felt that old man Su must have hidden something when he divided the family. They gathered together to scold old man Su, and at night they blew pillow talk in front of the 3 brothers. The 3 brothers of the Su family were also uncomfortable, but they also knew that it was not wise to go to their old father to question him at this time, so they could only keep it in their hearts. Fortunately, after the division of the family, they no longer had to hand over the money they earned to the public, and they kept it all in their own hands, which made them feel a little better. The one who felt the most comfortable was Su'er. His little daughter was very smart. She taught them 2 methods of preparing chicken and duck eggs. One method was to wrap them in ash, and the other method was to soak them in salt water. The methods were very simple, but the finished products were very delicious. His family had already started to purchase chicken and duck eggs in the village and nearby villages. They wanted to make more finished products and sell them in the county town for money. The little daughter also gave the 2 flavors of eggs nice and elegant names, called gentleman egg and sunset egg. He could understand why the salted egg was called sunset egg. Isn't the golden red egg heart the same as the sunset? But how could the black egg be called a gentleman egg? The little daughter said that the pattern on the black egg was pine flowers, and pine was one of the 4 gentlemen, and was sought after by scholars. This egg was called a gentleman egg, and there would definitely be many scholars who would buy it. After hearing this, Su'er had the idea of sending his little daughter to private school. Alice, it was a pity that the little daughter was not a boy, otherwise, with her intelligence, it would not be a problem for her to pass the examination to become a scholar in the future, right? But it's not bad now. The little daughter is so smart that she can help the family make money even if she doesn't study. The day after Su Qingni brought Su Sihe and Su Qingni back to the village, Su'er took his little daughter Dongsu to the county town. When he left, Su'er carried a big basket full of things, but it was covered with cloth, so outsiders couldn't see what was inside. When he came back, the basket was also full of things, also covered with cloth, and no one knew what was inside. But looking at Su'er's smiling face, it can be judged that this guy has made a fortune. When Su'er returned home, he closed the door of his room and took out food, cloth, meat and other things from inside. Jin and his other 2 children were grinning, and the son drooled at the meat. Su'er took out a small cloth bag from his arms, opened the cloth handkerchief, and revealed a few silver coins inside. Put all these away. Jin's eyes lit up, and she quickly wrapped the silver in cloth again, found a wooden box from under the bed, and put the silver in it. I didn't expect that these 2 kinds of eggs would make so much money. Jin sighed. Su'er smiled and said, Just as Dong Su said, those scholars are very fond of gentleman eggs, as if eating a gentleman egg, they are gentlemen. Sunset eggs taste better, and ordinary people prefer sunset eggs. The shopkeeper of Jixiang restaurant has signed a long-term supply contract with us. In the future, we will only do this. Selling these two kinds of eggs to Jixiang restaurant will make money continuously. Chapter 953, The Old Farmer. Seeing how Su and the others were so happy about a little money, Dong Su curled her lips. How much money is this? In the future, as long as they listen to her, she will lead them to make more money. Mom, go cook quickly, I want to eat meat. Su Dongmu sucked his saliva and said to Jin. Okay. Jin happily took the meat and went out of the room. After a long time, Jin called Dong Su and others to eat, and they found that Jin's face was not good. Mom, what's wrong with you? Su Dongyu asked with concern. Jin said with an ugly face, your aunt and third aunt were angry, and they wanted to steal our meat. After that, Jin turned to Su and said, Boss, let's build a house and move out. It's too inconvenient to live with the other two families. If you want to eat something delicious, you have to be on guard against them. Dong Su nodded vigorously on the side. Yes, let's build a new house. It's too inconvenient for so many people to squeeze in one yard. She was eager to move out quickly and have her own independent room. Suer, move out? Then what about the house here? Suer Seo, ask the people in those two families and sell it to them. Suer, I'm afraid they will lower the price. Suer Seo said, if they lower the price, we won't sell it. We'll leave the house empty and won't let them live in it. She has the confidence to say this now. Gentleman eggs and sunset eggs are so profitable. They made so much money today. As long as they keep making the two kinds of eggs, the money will come in continuously. They don't have to worry about the money. What's wrong with leaving the old house empty? She is happy as long as she thinks of the frustrated expressions of the two sisters-in-law when they see that there is an empty room but their family can't live in it. Suer is still a little reluctant. After all, building a new house and moving are big things, and it costs a lot of money. Even if he has money on hand now, he will feel heartbroken to take out such a large sum of money at once. Why move out when you have a house to live in? Dong Su said, Dad, we live in the same yard with my aunt and the third aunt. It will be troublesome to avoid their sight and continue to make gentleman eggs and sunset eggs. Especially today, we took a batch of gentleman eggs and sunset eggs to the county town, but we exchanged so many things back. My aunt and the third aunt will definitely have some associations. What if they want to learn how to make sunset eggs and gentleman eggs? That's absolutely not possible. This is the secret of my family's wealth, how can I let others learn it? To build a house, I will go to the village chief to ask for land tomorrow. Suer slapped his thigh and made a final decision. The news that Suer's family made a lot of money by building a new house spread in the village. Many villagers all ran to Suer and Jin to ask how they made so much money, which annoyed them. Finally, Dong Su asked them to teach the method of making gentleman eggs and songhua eggs. The couple were unwilling, but Dong Su told them that she had other ways to make money, and they should not become the enemy of the whole village because they were reluctant to give up. Suer and the Jin couple were not stupid people. They knew that they still lived in this village, so they could not offend everyone in the village. They could only teach the villagers how to make gentleman eggs and sunset eggs with great pain. The villagers praised Suer as a good man, which made their family's reputation much better, surpassing the two families of Su Dashan and Su Sanchi. The families of Su Dashan and Su Sanchi were still criticized as models of unfilial sons in the village, while Suer was already a good man in the village. This made Su Dashan and Su Sanchi very angry, and they cursed Suer as a traitor in their hearts. Did the three brothers walk together for life? Why did this guy leave the team? Dad, are we going to learn how to make gentleman eggs and salted duck eggs? Su Qingni asked. She really wanted to learn how to make the two kinds of eggs, so that she could have two more dishes on the dinner table in the future, but she really didn't want to go to the old house and didn't want to have more contact with her three sisters-in-law. Su Qingni smiled slightly. No need to go. Dad knows how to do it. Dad will teach you. Okay. Su Qingni smiled happily. She felt that her father was so amazing, he knew everything. 2 days ago, her father taught her and her brother a kind of kung fu called Qingguang. After learning it, she could jump to the roof with a light jump, and jump back and forth on the branches, just like the people in the storybooks, which was very interesting. Dad, should we also make more gentleman eggs and sunset eggs to sell in the city? Su Qingni asked. No need. Su Qingni said, now everyone in the village is making these two things. The production method is not difficult, and there are many wives from other villages in the village. It is possible that the two methods have been spread out. By then, many people recognize these two kinds of eggs, and the price will not be able to sell them. Su Qingni nodded in agreement. Seeing him like this, Su Qingni smiled and said, are you craving meat because your second brother's family eats meat every day? Su Qingni laughed embarrassedly. Su Qingni said, tomorrow Dad will take you to the mountains for a walk and bring back some wild animals to satisfy your cravings. Okay. Su Qingni was happy. His body has improved a lot now, and he has become very flexible. He can even hit pheasants and rabbits with stones. Qingni, do you want to go into the mountains too? Su Qingni asked her daughter. Su Qingni shook her head, I'll stay at home and make gentleman eggs and sunset eggs. Okay. Su Qingni told Su Qingni how to make preserved eggs and salted eggs, and the little girl remembered them firmly in her heart. The next day, Su Qingni took Su Qingni into the mountains. Winter was about to come, and many animals in the mountains were about to hibernate. This time when they went into the mountains, Su Qingni decided to bring back more wild animals to make bacon and eat it slowly in the winter. Anyway, the house they lived in was outside the village, a long distance away from the people in the village. They cooked meat every day, and the people in the village would not notice. Su Qingni intended to test Su Qingni's skills. After entering the mountain, he did not take action, and let Su Qingni hunt small animals, and she instructed him from the side. In half a day, Su Qingni hunted a lot of pheasants and rabbits, all of which were hung on a wooden stick and carried on his shoulders. Su Qingni did not have the strength to carry so many prey before, but now it is easy. He was so happy that his face was broken with laughter. The two of them used Qinggong and spent more than 2 hours entering the deep mountains, where there were many large wild animals. Su Qingni took Su Qingni to avoid the wolves and found 2 lone wild boars. Su Qingni easily dealt with them, grabbed one with one hand, and took Su Qingni home. Su Qingni looked at the huge size of the wild boar and admired his own father. He still had to continue to work hard to become as powerful as his own father, and hunt wild boars as easily as killing chickens. Chapter 954, The Old Farmer. Su Qingni and her 2 children worked hard for a whole day to collect half of the prey. Looking at the meat hanging all over the room, Su Qingni and Su Qingni's eyes were all shining. There was so much meat, even if they ate meat every day, they could eat it for a year. Okay, stop looking. Qingni, go to the county town with Dad and sell this wild boar and these pheasants. Su Qingni called Su Qingni, and then said to Su Qingni, don't cook dinner tonight, I'll buy some delicious food back. Okay. Su Qingni said happily. The father and son pushed a wooden cart to the county town, avoiding the people in the village. The 2 came to the county town and sold the wild animals directly to the restaurant. Then they bought a few cooked dishes and 10 big meat buns at the restaurant, and the 2 went home happily. While walking on the road to the county town, the father and son saw Su'er, who was carrying a haystack full of red and shiny red fruits. The 2 heard Su'er's call from afar, Tang Haws, delicious Tang Haws, sour and sweet Tang Haws. Tang Haws that symbolize happiness and reunion. Not to mention the appearance of Tang Haws, even the words of the sale are very attractive. There must be too many people buying Tang Haws. This is the new way Dong Su thought of for Su'er to make money. However, Tang Haws are simpler to make than salted eggs and preserved eggs. Su'er can only sell them this winter. Next year, others will definitely start selling Tang Haws. Of course, with Dong Su around, Su'er can find other ways to make money. How did the second brother come up with so many ideas to make money? He didn't come up with them before we split up the family. Su Qingni was a little angry. Su Qingni smiled and comforted the boy. Everyone has selfishness. Your second brother only has his own family in his heart, which is not surprising. I am also more partial to you and Qingni, and I only taught you 2 the health-preserving exercises. Su Qingni thought about it and was happy. He is his father's most beloved son, and his 3 brothers are not. The 2 met other people in the village again. The villagers were surprised to see that Su Qingni was no longer out of breath when walking. Qingni seems to be in much better health. Su Qingni smiled. This child gets up every morning to breathe the fresh air from the mountains and exercises, so he is stronger than before. The villagers didn't know the benefits of exercise, and only thought that Su Qingni's health gradually improved after the separation. Was he pretending before just to avoid heavy labor? Now that the family has separated, there are only his old father and sister at home. He has to work to support himself, his father and sister, so he stopped pretending and started working. Thinking of this, the villagers looked at Su Qingni with different eyes. Su Qingni didn't know what they were thinking, and just touched his cheek in confusion. There is no dirt. Su Qingni smiled secretly. She could understand the villagers' thoughts, but it was impossible to explain to everyone that Su Qingni's health improved because of the health-preserving exercises, so let others misunderstand. It started to snow, and winter was coming. It's quite cold here in the north in winter. Fortunately, the 3 members of the Su family have practiced health-preserving exercises and are not afraid of the cold. In the past winters, Su Qingni stayed in bed in the room all day because of his physical condition and did not dare to go out. This winter, Su Qingni jumped around in the snow wearing the rabbit fur coat made by Su Qingni, and pulled Su Qingni to make snowmen and play snowball fights with him. He did everything that the children in the village had done, but he had never done and always wanted to do. The 3 of them are not afraid of the cold, but many elderly people in the village are afraid of the cold. Su Qingni saw that the 2 brothers of the original body had become very weak because of the cold, and she couldn't help worrying, fearing that they would accidentally freeze to death one day. Duangsu's mind was all about how to make money, and she didn't think about making a magical tool for wintering, such as a kang. Su Qingni couldn't count on this time-traveling girl, so she had to do it herself. So the Taoist priest who went to the haunted house to exorcise ghosts appeared again. He came to the village and taught the villagers to build something called a kang. The old man and the children lay on the warm kang, no longer afraid of the cold. The Taoist priest also went to other villages and counties to teach others to repair kangs. Now kangs have spread throughout the northern region. This winter, fewer people will be frozen to death. This Taoist priest is really meritorious. Many people have set up a memorial tablet for him. Su Qingni felt a large wave of merit coming in, and she was very happy. Duangsu was surprised and doubtful. Is the Taoist priest really a so-called master or another time traveler? If he is a time traveler, wouldn't he feel confused when he made preserved eggs, salted eggs and candied haws? Wouldn't he want to chat with another time traveler? Duangsu couldn't figure it out. But she didn't have the energy to think about this problem. There are already several vendors selling candied haws in the county, and Su is now forcing her to think of another way to make money. What way? Duangsu's eyes fell on the kang built at home. Since there's a kang, why not build a greenhouse to grow vegetables? Duangsu told Su and his wife about this idea, and they didn't believe it. Will it work? Duangsu said, Dad, Mom, which of the ways to make money I told you about is not working? Yes. Their daughter is the little gout of wealth. She is amazing. If you follow their daughter's instructions, you will definitely make money. They did it right away, and the 2 took out the vegetable seeds. Duangsu thought about it, and then took out the beans. Bean sprouts are also a dish in winter. By the way, there is no tofu in this world. Duangsu's eyes lit up. Dad, Mom, I have an idea to make more money. The next day, Duangsu took Su's family to make tofu. There was a public stone mill in the village, and Duangsu thought it was very inconvenient, so she thought about installing a stone mill in her own home. The tofu was made under Duangsu's verbal instructions. At noon that day, Jin made several tofu dishes according to Duangsu's oral instructions, and also made tofu pudding and drank soy milk. After lunch, Su's family was very excited and worked more actively to grind soy milk and make tofu. The next morning, Su brought the finished tofu and bean curd to the city. It was still the Jixiang restaurant. Under Duangsu's instruction, Su not only sold all the tofu to their restaurant, but also sold the method of making tofu, in exchange for hundreds of taels of silver. Duangsu had a good idea. Instead of being forced to publish the method of making tofu for free and teach it to the villagers, it would be better to sell it out directly. Now, Su's family is even richer. The other people in Su's family look at Duangsu as if they were gold ingots. Duangsu's status in Su's family is second only to Su, and even Jin has to listen to this daughter. Chapter 955, The Old Farmer. After a winter, Su's family made a lot of money and bought a shop in the county town. Tofu became the signature dish of Jixiang restaurant, and candied haws, preserved eggs and duck eggs were also spread out. Preserved eggs, duck eggs and candied haws were also available in other parts of the country. Because Jixiang restaurant was an ancient chain restaurant, people from other places also ate tofu. Su Qingni's family of 3 ate meat throughout the winter, and they could eat meat every day. Both children gained some weight. However, because of daily practice, they did not gain much weight, but they grew taller. Spring is here, and spring plowing and sowing will begin. Su Qingni took the 2 children to breed in advance. Although Donksu knows many ways to make money, she doesn't know much about farming. Su Qingni decided to start with a field to improve it. Even if there is a result, Donksu will not suspect that she is also a time traveler. Breeding, plowing, sowing. Su Qingni uses the most scientific methods. He asked Su Sihei to prepare paper and pen, and recorded every process in detail. After sowing, he asked Su Sihei to observe the fields every day and write down the observation records. Su Sihei is a filial child. He does whatever his father asks him to do, and he does it very carefully and actively. In the past, he couldn't work in the fields because of physical reasons, and was looked down upon by the villagers. Now he can work in the fields and prove that he is not a waste who eats for free. Of course, he has to go to the fields more often. Moreover, Su Sihei now admires his old father very much. He thinks that his old father is a hidden master who is amazing. He said that this farming is good, and it must be really good. Su Sihei is full of confidence in his father. And his father did not disappoint him. Their fields really grew very well, better than the fields of other families in the village, which made the villagers envious. Many villagers came to learn from him, and his father pushed him out and asked him to tell the villagers about the records. This move made him have a certain prestige in the village invisibly, and his previous bad image was reversed. When the wheat and rice in the fields began to sprout, Su Qingni found some strangers in the village, and they often wandered around outside her home. Su Qingni deliberately took Su Sihei and Su Qingni out for 2 days, and when they came back, they found that someone had entered the house. Su Qingni smiled and pretended not to notice. A few days later, the news spread in the village. The little daughter of Suer's family was taken away by a nobleman. It turned out that Donksu was not the daughter of Suer's family, but the child of the family who lived in the village that year. That family secretly exchanged Donksu with their child. Suer's biological daughter had already died in the fire. However, Suer did not lose anything. Although his biological daughter died, he received compensation from the nobleman. A full 1,000 taels of silver. A little girl is worth so much silver. Suer and his wife made a fortune, right? So jealous. Why didn't that family exchange their child with their own child? Suer's family is very rich. It is said that their family is moving into the city to live. So envious. So jealous. The village has been shrouded in vinegar for a while, and it's all sour. Even the 2 children, Su Qingni and Su Sihei, couldn't help but envy Suer's good luck. They thought it was a huge sum of money when they made more than 100 taels of silver from selling Ganoderma lucidum. 1,000 taels, the 2 children didn't even think about it. Su Qingni touched the heads of the 2 children and said with a smile, "We don't envy others. Let's farm well. If the farm is well farmed, we can also make money." Su Sihei and Su Qingni nodded when they heard it. Yes, they don't envy. With their father around, they will definitely live a good life. Although 1,000 taels is a lot, their family is not bad. They made 100 taels of silver from selling Ganoderma lucidum before, and later made another 10 taels of silver from hunting and selling prey, and they had meat to eat every day. Which family in the village has such a good life? They don't need to envy others. Seeing that the 2 children's mentality was calm, Su Qingni smiled. "Dad, is Donksu really not our child?" Su Qingni asked Su Qingni. In her memory, Donksu was born in the old Su family, so how could she not be the child of the old Su family? Su Qingni said, "Since the nobleman thinks that Donksu is not the child of the old Su family, then she is not. Su Donksu is related to the Su family by blood, so of course she is the child of the old Su family. But since those people have determined that Su Donksu is not, and Su Donksu herself says that she is not, then she is not the child of the Su family. She will have no connection with the Su family in the future." When Su Donksu was hypnotized, Su Qingni knew the origin of the 3 people in the haunted house. The identity of the child is not ordinary. She is the biological daughter of the deposed prince. The deposed prince died in the rebellion, and his other children were killed. Only the little daughter who was still an infant was sent out by the crown princess. The little baby girl is the biological daughter of the crown princess. She asked her personal maid and a guard to take her daughter away. The crown princess is a smart daughter. She took some letters from the crown prince's study and asked the maid to take them away. The letter was the evidence of a prince who framed the crown prince and sold out the country. The prince originally planned to hand over the evidence to the emperor, but before he could act, the prince took the first step and accused the prince of rebellion, killing him. The maid and the guard took the little princess to escape to Sujia village, thinking they were safe for the time being. Who would have thought that the prince wanted to root out the evil? Not even a baby girl would be spared, and sent people to find out their whereabouts, and then killed the maid and the little princess. The guard was seriously injured and unconscious. The people sent by the prince searched for evidence of his collusion with the vassal and selling out a country in the haunted house, but found nothing. Those people set fire to the house, thinking of burning the evidence. They thought that all three people were dead, and their bodies were also burned. But they didn't expect that the guard was lucky. Although he was burned by the fire, he was lucky enough not to die. The guard didn't dare to show up again, so he pretended to be a ghost in the haunted house to scare people, so that people in the village didn't dare to approach the haunted house, and he lived in the haunted house. However, the guard was too seriously injured and burned by fire at the time, and his body collapsed. He died after a few years. Before he died, Su Dongsu had just come through, and curiously sneaked into the haunted house and met the guard. The guard thought that if he died, the master's grievances would never be cleared. Seeing that Su Dongsu was not an ordinary girl, he told Su Dongsu about his origins and the story of the deposed prince, so that Su Dongsu could help the deposed prince to redress his grievances one day. He was gambling. If he lost a bet, he would consider himself unlucky. But what if he won? What if this girl could really help the prince to redress his grievances? Chapter 956, The Old Farmer. The evidence of the third prince's collusion with the vassal and selling out a country was not burned by the fire, and the guards hid it under the tree in the yard. In addition to these evidences, there is also a jade pendant that can prove the identity of the baby girl as a princess. Su Dongsu kept the jade pendant on herself, but she was very careful not to let anyone find it. Even Su and his wife did not know the existence of the jade pendant. The third prince thought that he could take the throne after defeating the prince, but he had other brothers. Over the years, many brothers have grown up and are equally ambitious. The third prince, the most powerful prince in the court, has become a common target for other princes. The combined power of several princes is not small, and with the power of their mother's family and their wife's family, the truth about the prince's rebellion was dug out. The emperor was so angry that he imprisoned the third prince, and when he heard that the deposed prince had a daughter escaped, he sent his men to look for this granddaughter. Then they found Sujia village. There were strangers in Sujia village, and Su Dongsu immediately became alert. She bribed the children in the village with candies and copper coins, asking them to help pay attention to the movements of strangers, and preferably to hear what those people said. Strangers were not so wary of children, so the children heard a few words more or less and told Su Dongsu everything. Su Dongsu extracted information from these words and knew that the deposed crown prince had overturned the case and the third prince was arrested. These people were looking for the little princess. Su Dongsu's heart moved, and an idea emerged in her mind. The little princess was the same age as her and was born in the same year. Could she replace the identity of that child? The more she thought about it, the more she felt that this matter was very feasible. So Su Dongsu took out the jade pendant that proved the identity of the little princess. She wore the jade pendant around her neck and pretended to show it in front of those people unintentionally. When those people saw the jade pendant, they naturally asked her about the origin of the jade pendant. Su Dongsu pretended to be alert and afraid, but she didn't say anything. In the end, she pretended to let out a hint of it unintentionally. Those people seized this opportunity to question Su Dongsu. Su Dongsu was not as cunning as these people, and finally revealed the jade pendant and her identity. She was the daughter of the deposed prince. When she was young, the guards and maids exchanged her with Suer's daughter, who had just been born, for her safety. The child who died in the fire was Suer's youngest daughter, while she survived. The guard who took her away did not die, but had been protecting her in secret until he was about to die, when he told Su Dongsu the truth. Su Dongsu's words were convincing, and those people really believed her and regarded her as a little princess. Especially when Su Dongsu took out the letter she had hidden about the third prince's collusion with the vassal and selling out a country. These people no longer doubted Su Dongsu's words. In this way, Su Dongsu followed those people to the capital. After all, Su'er and his wife were also her biological parents in this body. Su Dongsu caused them to lose a daughter, so they should give them some compensation, right? So Su Dongsu asked the people from the capital to leave 1,000 taels of silver to Su and his wife, as a way to repay Su and his wife for giving birth to this body. Su Dongsu left, and Sujia village returned to peace. How Su Dongsu lived in the capital, the people in the village didn't know, and they wouldn't care. In their opinion, Su Dongsu was just going to enjoy life. It was harvest season, and the villagers were all focused on the fields. In addition to their own fields, there were also Su Qingni's fields. The crops in Su Qingni's fields grew so well that anyone with eyes could see it. Now everyone is guessing how much Su Qingni's fields can harvest per acre. On the day when Su Qingni took Su Sihe to harvest the crops, the villagers came to help, actually wanting to see the yield. Su Qingni smiled and watched the villagers busying themselves, standing on the ridge of the field to be lazy. Because there were so many people, Su Qingni's 2 acres of land were harvested in a short time. The village chief had someone bring a large scale to weigh the crops. The final result was that the yield of 1 mu of land was 401 jin, and 1 mu of land was nearly 386. The average yield per mu was 400 jin. All the villagers were shocked. You know, the current grain yield per mu is only about 200 to 300 jin. 400 jin per mu means a direct increase of 1/3. I thought that Su Qingni's crops grew well and the harvest must be high, but I didn't expect it to grow so well. The villagers immediately surrounded Su Qingni and asked Su Qingni to teach everyone how to grow crops to increase grain production. Su Qingni agreed with a smile and told everyone that if they wanted to learn, they should go to Su Sihe to sign up and study with Su Sihe in the spring of next year. Everyone surrounded Su Sihe again. Su Sihe's little face was red and excited. The village chief walked to Su Qingni and patted her shoulder. "Old third, you did a good job and brought honor to our Su family." Su Qingni smiled slightly. She knew what the village chief meant. It was impossible for the village chief not to report such a good thing. You must know that today's society is based on agriculture. From the emperor to ordinary farmers, agriculture is very important. Now Su Qingni can increase grain production, which is a great contribution. Maybe the court will reward her. Sure enough, the village chief reported the matter to the county magistrate. The county magistrate reported it again, and finally it reached the emperor. After the emperor sent someone to verify it, he gave a reward. Not only rewarded money and property, but also gave Su Sihe an 8th-rank agricultural official, so that Su Sihe could teach others to farm. The 3 brothers of Su Dashan regretted it when they knew it. If they hadn't split up, would Su Qingni have taken them to farm together and planted 400 kilograms of grain per mu? Would they also be rewarded by the emperor and become officials? The Su Dashan brothers came to express their regret to Su Qingni, but Su Qingni ignored them and said directly that the family had been split up and they had nothing to do with her. The benefits she had received had nothing to do with the Su Dashan brothers. The Su Dashan brothers knelt at the door of Su Qingni and cried, but Su Qingni ignored them. The villagers, on the contrary, felt a little sympathetic towards the 3 brothers and persuaded Su Qingni that her son had known he was wrong, so she should forgive them. Su Qingni laughed. They would only say so if the knife had not cut those people. Some people could not stand Su Qingni's toughness and began to accuse Su Qingni of being too hard-hearted. As a result, when the 3 Su Dashan brothers came to the door of the Su family to cry and beg, they found that the door was locked and Su Qingni's family of 3 had disappeared. It turned out that Su Sihe was going to Beijing to the royal farm to instruct the people there on how to farm scientifically, so Su Qingni simply took her daughter with him to Beijing. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelists. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 957, The Old Farmer. The 3 brothers of the Su family were dumbfounded, and so were the people who accused Su Qingni. Finally, the village chief came out and gave them all a severe lesson. If Su Qingni was still in the village, they could ask Su Qingni directly if they didn't understand anything during the spring plowing next year. But what about now? Although Su Sihe taught them how to farm scientifically, and they remembered it in their hearts, they had never actually operated it. Who knew what problems would arise in the middle? If there was a problem, who would they go to for answers? When the villagers heard the words of the village chief, They were so angry that they didn't have a good face to persuade the three brothers of the Su family and the people who accused Su Qingni, and they cursed at these people. The people who accused Su Qingni regretted it, and hid back home in disgrace amid the scolding of everyone. Su also left the village quickly. He now runs a shop in the county town, and he is also in the county town. Although he can't get any benefits from his old father, he still has the benefits left to their family by his youngest daughter. Su Qingni didn't forgive him, and he lived a good life. Su Dashan and Su Sanchi got nothing, and they were filled with remorse. After returning home, they beat Zhao and Sun severely. Such people never find fault with themselves, but always think it is the fault of others. They blame their wives for whispering in their ears, which gradually alienated them from their old father and separated from their old father, making their old father not forgive them and abandoning them to enjoy the good life, while they can only face the lowest and back to the sky for the rest of their lives. It's all the fault of the two women. Yes, it's all their fault. Zhao and Sun complained bitterly. But they were not wronged. If they hadn't slandered their parents-in-law and brother-in-law in their husband's ears since they got married, and provoked the relationship between their husband and his parents-in-law and brother-in-law, how could they have ended up like this today? They wanted to take more advantage, but they lost more because of the small. They didn't get the biggest advantage at all. Regret, too late. After arriving in the capital, Su Qingni took out money to buy a small courtyard. You know, houses in the capital are not cheap. This small courtyard costs 500 taels of silver. Seeing Su Qingni take out so much silver to buy a house, Su Sihei and Su Qingmi's eyes almost popped out. Su Qingni smiled. Well, your father dug up another ginseng that is hundreds of years old in the mountain and sold it for thousands of taels of silver. Su Sihei and Su Qingmi. The mountain in their hometown is a treasure mountain, right? Su Sihei asked, Dad, did you really only dig up one ginseng? You didn't dig anything else. Su Qingni, how do you know? I also dug up an 80-year-old ginseng and put it in my package. I'll keep this and take it out to exchange for money when I run out of money in the future. Su Sihei and Su Qingmi. Dad, you are awesome. After settling down in the capital, Su Sihei followed the officials of the Ministry of Works to live in the imperial farm. Although he was young, he was smart, and Su Qingni took him around and taught him for a long time. Facing those old hands in the officialdom, he could handle it with ease. Su Qingni and Su Qingmi lived in the city. Without having to work in the fields, Su Qingni took Su Qingmi to stroll around the capital, so she was full of gossip, all about Su Dongsu. After Su Dongsu was brought back to the capital, she was very popular with the emperor. The old emperor loved her and transferred all his guilt for liking the deposed prince to Su Dongsu. Su Dongsu was promoted to a higher level and became a princess. Su Dongsu was very famous in the capital. Although she did not plagiarize the poems of another world to make herself a talented woman, her fame came from her powerful way of making money. Su Dongsu opened a restaurant in the capital, launching a new dish every day, which was something no one had ever eaten and was very delicious. The hot pot launched in winter and the ice cream launched in summer are the signature dishes of this restaurant. Su Dongsu also opened a supermarket. The novel way of buying and the daily promotion methods attracted the people of the capital to go around and buy something every day. Su Dongsu also led the craftsmen to develop a series of things such as soap, matches, glass mirrors, etc., which are all good things that can make money. Su Dongsu made a lot of money from these businesses and became the richest person in the capital. It is expected that she will become the richest person in the world in a few years. However, because the emperor has a stake in every business she does, no one dares to take advantage of her business. No one can estimate how much Su Dongsu is worth now, but they only know that she is a golden baby. Originally, they looked down on Su Dongsu because she was a noble lady who grew up in the countryside, and did not want Su Dongsu to marry their children and grandchildren, and thought that Su Dongsu was not worthy of their children and grandchildren. Now they are eager for their children and grandchildren to marry Su Dongsu. This is to bring back a bottle of the god of wealth. In the future, their children and grandchildren will not have to worry about money. However, Su Dongsu may not look down on their children and grandchildren. She has attracted several outstanding men with her unique charm. Su Qingni was stunned when she heard it. Is Dongsu so powerful? Su Qingni raised her eyebrows. Living two lives and having modern knowledge, how can she not be powerful? If Su Qingni were to live again, she would definitely be more powerful than ordinary people. At this time, a man entered the restaurant and brought everyone new news about Su Dongsu. The emperor ordered people to build a high platform for Princess Dongsu to choose a husband. He actually let the princess choose her own husband, which shows how much the emperor likes and values this princess. But the princess is still young, right? She has to choose a husband so early? How much does this princess hate to get married? The person who made this statement was immediately despised. Do you think it's easy to build a high platform? It will definitely take several months. When the princess chooses her husband, she will have to build a princess mansion, which will take a lot of time. When the princess and her husband get married, they will be just the right age. Su Qingni looked at Su Qingni beside her. This girl was 4 years older than Su Dongsu and had reached the age to get married. Qingni, what kind of man do you like? Su Qingni suddenly asked a question that made Su Qingni stunned, and then her face turned red. Dad, why are you asking this? Su Qingni, to find a husband for you. Dad? Su Qingni's face turned even redder. Men should get married when they are old enough, and women should get married when they are old enough. There is nothing to be shy about. Besides, I am your father, and you can tell me anything in your heart. Even if you don't get married, I won't force you and will support you for the rest of your life. Dad? Su Qingni was moved, but still said, there is no reason for a woman not to get married. Su Qingni raised her eyebrows. This reaction. Qingni, do you have someone you like? If you don't tell me who you like, I will just marry you. Chapter 958, The Old Farmer 13. Su Qingni revealed who her crush was under Su Qingni's coaxing. It was a colleague of Su Sihei, a minor official in the Ministry of Industry, named Ruan Chenghu. Ruan Chenghu followed Su Sihei to learn scientific farming. Because they were close in age, they became friends. He followed Su Sihei to his home twice and also came into contact with Su Qingni. And it was during these 2 times that Su Qingni fell in love with Ruan Chenghu. Does Ruan Chenghu like you? Su Qingni asked. Su Qingni nodded shyly. If they were in love, it was okay. However, marriage is not a matter of 2 people, but a matter of 2 families or even families. Su Qingni didn't know Ruan Chenghu's family situation and needed to find out. Fortunately, although Su Sihei stayed in the imperial farm most of the time, he would go home to visit her and Su Qingni 2 days a month, which was a normal retreat. There were still a few days until Su Sihei's retreat. When he came back, she could ask him about Ruan Chenghu. The 2 heard a lot of news about Su Dongsu in the restaurant, and they also met Su Dongsu. It turned out that this restaurant was opened by Su Dongsu, and she came to the restaurant to check the accounts. The 2 sat in the restaurant hall, surrounded by diners, so they saw Su Dongsu, but Su Dongsu did not see them. Su Dongsu was devoted to making money in business and pleasing the old emperor and flirting with handsome men. She was not very clear about the things in the court, so she did not know that her grandfather and uncle were rewarded for their good farming, and she did not know that her grandfather and uncle aunt came to the capital. Su Qingni looked at Su Dongsu's demeanor and the beautiful clothes and jewelry on her body, and she was envious in her heart, but it was just a little envy. She was not jealous of Su Dongsu, she could recognize her own identity and Su Dongsu's identity. Su Qingni was a contented person, and she would not ask for things she could not get. A few days later, Su Sihei Muxiu returned home, and Su Qingni asked him about Ruan Chenghu's information. Su Sihei had a good relationship with Ruan Chenghu, and he had also been to his house to play and knew the situation in Ruan Chenghu's family. Ruan Chenghu is the young master of Rongin Marquis's mansion, but he is a bastard, and his relationship with his mother and brother is not very good. Because he lost his mother when he was a child, and his aunt is a concubine that Rongin Marquis prefers, Rongin Marquis is quite sympathetic to his son, and the father-son relationship is very good. Before Rongin Marquis died, he made arrangements for this bastard, donated a real position to him, and arranged him in the Ministry of Works. Because he was just a 7th-rank official, the Marquis's wife and the prince looked down on him, so they didn't bother Ruan Chenghu. Before Rongin Marquis died, he directly divided the family. He had Ruan Chenghu and 3 bastards. Although he didn't have the same affection for them as Ruan Chenghu, they were his sons after all. He was afraid that after his death, the Marquis's wife would bully his other children by relying on her status, and that the family property would not be divided among the other sons and people would be driven out of the Marquis mansion, so he divided the family in advance, gave each of the 4 bastards a part of the property, and asked them to move out of the Marquis mansion. Rongan Marquis left 90% of the Marquis's property to his legitimate son, and only gave the remaining 10% to the bastards. This made the Marquis's wife and the prince very satisfied, and they felt that the Marquis of Rongan was biased towards them. They didn't know that the Marquis of Rongan had thought it through. If too much of the family property was given to these illegitimate sons, it was hard to guarantee that the Marquis's wife and the prince would take action against the illegitimate sons because of dissatisfaction, so that they would not be able to keep the property they were given in the end. It is better to give them some property openly. In fact, the Marquis of Rongan has a lot of private money. The Marquis of Rongan secretly compensated the illegitimate sons, took out a part of the private money and distributed it to the 3 illegitimate sons, and left the rest to Ruan Chenghu. Don't look at Ruan Chenghu, who only lives in a 2-story house, and his family property only has a manor with 500 acres of land and a shop. On the surface, he seems to live in poverty. But in fact, the Marquis of Rongan gave Ruan Chenghu 2 manors with 1,000 acres of land, and also gave him a lot of antiques and ancient books, and these 2 are the most valuable. Su Qingni listened to Ruan Chenghu's information and expressed satisfaction. Very good, no elders, house, land and career, not bad, not bad, a very good candidate for a rich son-in-law. Go back and try Ruan Chenghu's attitude. If he is interested in your sister, ask him to invite a matchmaker. Su Qingni agreed. He fully supported Ruan Chenghu becoming his brother-in-law. The matchmaker came on the next day of the feast. Su Qingni readily agreed to the marriage. Because Ruan Chenghu had no legitimate elders and he was very busy, the marriage was arranged by Su Qingni, the girl's parent. Although it was not in accordance with etiquette, the family was happy. Half a year later, Su Qingni got married. After getting married, Su Qingni and her husband loved each other. Ruan Chenghu was born a concubine and knew the difficulties of concubines. Therefore, he did not take concubines or find a concubine like his own children. He only had Su Qingni as his wife for the rest of his life. Su Qingni's belly was also very good. Less than a year after the marriage, she gave birth to a pair of twin sons for Ruan Chenghu, and then gave birth to 2 sons and a daughter. Ruan Chenghu was very happy to have so many sons, most of whom were legitimate. You should know that his good brother only has 1 legitimate daughter, and the concubine also gave birth to a daughter, but no son was born. I don't know what sin the legitimate brother has committed. He has no son to see him off. This is going to be extinct. A year after Su Qingni got married, Su Qingni also got married. She was the daughter of his superior, a gentle and virtuous woman. Although there are shortcomings, it is generally good. Su Qingni is quite satisfied with this wife. He lives with his wife alone, without taking concubines or having a roommate. This made his wife very satisfied. The original dissatisfaction with marrying a husband of mud-legged origin disappeared, and she just felt that she was the happiest one among the sisters. 3 years later, Su Dongsu went to Fengtai to choose a son-in-law. The selected son-in-law was one of the handsome guys who had an ambiguous relationship with her. He was the handsome guy she was most satisfied with and liked the most. However, after getting married, she still kept in touch with several other handsome guys. She was like a Mary Sue. Su Qingni left this world after Su Qingni's son was born. She didn't know how the 3 Sudashans who stayed in their hometown were doing. Anyway, the country has been peaceful and the people have been safe these years, and scientific farming methods have spread throughout the country. Even if Su Dashan and his people are not rich, they will not starve to death. Of course, if they regret to death, they deserve it. After returning to the Lich realm, Su Qingni found that the whole world was very peaceful and nothing big happened, so she began to practice and recuperate. After she recovered, she began to travel again. She had a hunch that in the next world, she would most likely meet Donghuang Tai. Chapter 959, False Dragon and False Phoenix. When Su Qingni was awake, she found that the soul around her was different from the soul that possessed the body, but she was sure that the body was indeed this soul's. What was going on? Su Qingni stretched out her finger to touch the soul's forehead and extract information from her mind. But when she raised her hand, she found that she was now a 5-inch nail and could not touch the soul's forehead at all. Su Qingni was sweating. Squat down. Su Qingni ordered the soul. The soul squatted down in fear. The person in front of her gave her a very palpitating feeling. She did not dare to disobey this person's orders. Su Qingni's fingers touched the soul's forehead and got information about this soul from her head. This soul was reborn. The original identity of this soul was the daughter of a general's mansion, but because of an accident at birth, she exchanged identities with a baby girl from a peasant family. The peasant woman who had a difficult time giving birth to a daughter and a son risked bleeding to exchange her daughter with a daughter of the nobleman. She wanted to exchange her own son, but the nobleman's subordinates all knew that the nobleman had given birth to a daughter. She could only let her own daughter go to nobleman to enjoy the good life. The peasant woman died, and the only one who knew about the child exchange was the peasant woman's mother. The peasant woman's husband Su Qingni married another wife, Jian, who gave him another son a year later. Su Qingni began to ignore the two children born to his ex-wife. Jian was an intolerant person. She treated Hunpo and another child, the fool, very badly. She often deducted their food and forced Hunpo to work hard every day. The other people in the Su family took good care of Hunpo and the fool because they were twins, but later they found that the fool was slow to react and did not respond to what others said, so they disliked them. They did not give the two people names, but just called them a bitch and a fool. But the bitch liked the fool very much and protected him. The two children depended on each other and grew up to be 15 years old. At the age of 15, the girl's biological parents found her and took her back to the general's mansion. The girl didn't want to be separated from the fool. The general's mansion thought that raising one more person was just giving one more meal, which was no different from raising a kitten or a puppy, so they took the fool away. The girl was very grateful to the people in the general's mansion. Even though she was despised by many people after returning to the general's mansion, and even the servants looked down on her, the girl didn't care. Instead, she was grateful to everyone in the general's mansion. However, the masters of the general's mansion didn't like the girl. They took her back just because they didn't want the blood of the general's mansion to flow outside. They valued the adopted daughter Taiziru who had been carefully cultivated since childhood. However, Taiziru left after the girl returned to the general's mansion, saying that she would return her identity to the girl. Her move won praise from many people. But Taiziru did not return to the farm, but was taken into the mansion by the third prince of the dynasty and became the concubine of the third prince, still living a rich life. The slutty girl didn't know whether Taiziru had contacted Su Qingni's family. Anyway, until she died, she never saw Taiziru and Su Qingni again. However, the slutty girl still knew some truths before she died, and knew why Taiziru returned her identity to her without any nostalgia. It turned out that General Taizhuang's achievements were so great that the royal family had long been wary of him. Taizhuang was not a loyal person. Knowing that the royal family was afraid of him and was plotting against him in secret, he also had the heart to rebel and wanted to replace the royal family. Taiziru was the sweetheart of the third prince and also the spy placed by the royal family in the Tai family. Why did Taiziru betray the Tai family so easily? That's because the royal family found out that Taiziru was not the biological daughter of the Tai family. The Tai family would be charged with treason by the royal family, and the whole family would definitely be executed. If Taiziru was the daughter of the Tai family, she would not be able to escape death. Taiziru didn't want to die, and the third prince was reluctant to let such a beautiful woman like Taiziru die. So they decided to expose Taiziru's identity, let the Tai family find their biological daughter, and Taiziru took the opportunity to leave the Tai family. The Tai family just learned that their biological daughter had been swapped, and before they thought too much, they followed the calculations of Taiziru and the third prince and took the bitch back home. However, after learning that Taiziru had entered the third prince's mansion, Taizhuang became alert. After a secret investigation, he learned that the royal family was going to take action against the Tai family. Therefore, Taizhuang secretly arranged to send the Tai family out of the capital. Because he looked down on the bitch, Taizhuang kept the bitch in the mansion and asked his men to take her out occasionally, making people think that the people of the Tai family were still in the capital. Who knew that the bitch was abandoned by her own relatives? The last memory of the bitch was that a group of imperial guards rushed into the Tai mansion and killed her, and the fool had been with her and was killed with her. When the bitch opened her eyes again, she found that she was reborn and returned to 6 years ago. Unfortunately, before she could figure out how to live in the future, the bitch went up the mountain to chop wood but rolled down the mountain and died. The bitch did not have any hatred for Taiziru and the Tai family. She only felt guilty about the fool. If she had not insisted on dragging the fool into the Tai family, the fool would not have died at such a young age. If the bitch had any wishes, it was that she hoped the fool could live well, get married, have sons and grandchildren in the future, and live in peace until old age. Su Qingni retracted her fingers and said to the bitch, "Don't worry, I will take good care of the fool for you." The soul moved its lips but did not make a sound, but Su Qingni knew she was saying thank you. Su Qingni waved her hand, sent the little bitch to the underworld for reincarnation, and gave her some merit. Su Qingni sat cross-legged on the ground and began to practice. The martial arts value in this world is not high, so practicing health-preserving exercises is enough. After practicing for an hour, Su Qingni cultivated internal strength and killed a pheasant. After roasting it in the mountains, she ate half of it first, and wrapped the remaining half with large leaves and hid it at the bottom of the backpack before returning to the Su family. When she entered the gate of the Su family, a piece of firewood was thrown at her, accompanied by a woman's shrill curse, "Little bitch, you actually ran out to be lazy. Don't eat dinner today. Go work for me." Su Qingni stared at the woman coldly. This woman was the original body's stepmother, Jian, an extremely mean woman. Jian was startled by the coldness in Su Qingni's eyes. "Why does this girl look a little different? You little bitch, if you glare at me again, I'll dig your eyes out." Su Qingni spoke up, her voice sinister and frightening for no reason. "If you dare to touch a hair on my body, my mother will pay you back double for me." Chapter 960, Fake Dragon and Fake Phoenix 2. "If you dare to touch a hair on my body, my mother will pay me back double." Jane was frightened by Su Qingni's expression and words and took 2 steps back, but then she reacted and became furious. "You bitch, you dare to scare me, I will beat you to death." After saying that, she picked up a wooden stick and hit Su Qingni. Su Qingni looked at her coldly, moved her fingers slightly, and a strong wind blew out. The strong wind hit Jane's knees, and she screamed in pain, and fell forward directly, with her nose and mouth hitting the ground hard. Her nose and mouth were bleeding, and her 2 front teeth were knocked out. Although the Su family had separated, the whole family still lived in the same yard, so they all heard what Jane said to Su Qingni. Everyone thought that Su Qingni was scaring Jane, but Jane's sudden fall made people a little confused. Could it be that Su Qingni's biological mother really turned into a ghost to protect the 2 children? When Jian's son and daughter Su Dashan and Su Chongqing saw their mother fall, they screamed and rushed towards Su Qingni with their fists raised. They were still children, and they were not as afraid of ghosts and gods as adults. Su Qingni would not let them go just because they were children. These 2 had always bullied the original owner and the fool. In the original owner's memory, they also hit the fool's head with stones. The original owner was also beaten by them to protect the fool. The original owner and the fool's heads were bleeding, but Su Shitao and Jian didn't care about them at all, let alone help them find a doctor to treat them. It was the original owner who listened to the advice of other villagers and grabbed 2 handfuls of wood ash and applied it on his and the fool's heads to stop the bleeding. Su Qingni sent out 2 more strong winds, and Su Dashan and Su Chongqing also fell down. However, Su Qingni still held back and didn't let them fall hard on the ground, but let them fall on Jian's body by chance, pressing Jian to roll her eyes. Su Shitao saw his wife and children fall down, and he was furious. He was no longer afraid. He just thought that Su Qingni's biological mother was his wife. She was beaten by him when she was alive. How powerful could she be after she died? Others were afraid of Su Qingni's biological mother, but he was not. Su Shitao also came up with his fists clenched. Su Qingni's eyes flashed coldly. She hated Su Shitao, even more than she hated Jian. It was understandable that Jian abused the 2 children. After all, stepmothers didn't like stepchildren, and they had to consider their own children. But what about Su Shitao? He was not worthy of being a father. Su Qingni's gust of wind this time was stronger than the previous 2 times, and Su Shitao fell harder. After falling, not only did he knock out his front teeth, but he also slid on the ground for a while, and his head hit the stone mill in the yard directly. There was a hole in his head and blood was flowing. The whole Su family was silent. They were very scared now. There's a ghost. There really is a ghost. A very powerful ghost. Everyone took a step back, and looked at Su Qingni with fear in their eyes. They would never dare to bully this little girl again. And they would not dare to bully the fool either. They have their mother to protect them. Su Qingni glanced at everyone indifferently and walked towards the woodshed. She and the fool did not have a room to live in. They had never slept in a bed since they could remember. In winter, the 2 children hugged each other and squeezed in the haystack. Pushing open the door of the woodshed, Su Qingni walked in. The fool sat beside the haystack with a dull look in his eyes. When he saw Su Qingni come in, he showed a silly smile. This smile belonged to the original body, and no one else could expect to get a smile or a word from the fool. "Are you hungry?" Su Qingni asked softly, taking out half a roasted chicken from the basket on her back and handing it to the fool. "There's meat to eat today." The fool shrugged his nose, showed a silly smile again, took the roasted chicken, and ate it in big mouthfuls. Su Qingni touched the fool's head and sat aside to wait for the fool to finish eating. It was very noisy in the yard. After she entered the woodshed and closed the door, the people in the yard reacted and quickly helped Su Shitao to find a doctor for treatment. Su Shitao was originally a guy who bullied the weak and feared the strong. This fall made him lose his courage. It turns out that people are so scary when they become ghosts. The fool ate half a third of the roast chicken and couldn't eat any more. Because he was often hungry, his appetite was very small. Su Qingni put away the remaining roast chicken, pulled the fool out of the woodshed, fetched water for him to wash his hands and face, and then took him back to the woodshed. After returning, Su Qingni pulled up the fool's wrist and took his pulse. The fool's health is really not good. He has eaten a lot and worn warm clothes over the years, and the fool's body has been depleted a lot. Even if the fool didn't accompany the original owner to die in the general's mansion in the previous life, the fool would not live to be 30 years old. The fool must also learn to keep fit. Continue to take the pulse, this time specifically for the fool's head. Su Qingni found that there was a blocked meridian in the fool's mind. If this meridian was combed, the fool might not be stupid anymore. You have to get a set of silver needles first. Su Qingni thought. The next day, Jian and other people in the Su family did not dare to wake Su Qingni up early in the morning and force her to work. They did not dare to contact Su Qingni and the fool, and decided to treat these two people as if they did not exist and let them fend for themselves. When Su Qingni and the fool woke up, most of the adults in the Su family had gone to the fields to do farm work. Except for Su Shitao, who was injured in the head and lying at home to recover. Jian, whose front teeth were knocked out, was caught by her mother-in-law Su Pozi and was taken to the field. The heaviest and most tiring work was given to Jian. The Su family felt that it was because Jian, the stepmother, was too vicious that she angered Su Qingni and the fool's biological mother, and made her unwilling to stay in the Su family even after her death. Who knows if this dead former daughter-in-law will also do something to other people in the Su family. The Su family hated Jian and felt that everything was Jian's fault. How the Jian family exploited the original body in the past, the Su family is now exploiting her. The situation has changed. Jian is not a punching bag like the original body. She wanted to resist, but she was frightened by her mother-in-law's words, Zhao, the fool's biological mother, and had to work hard according to her mother-in-law's orders. She was afraid that Zhao would cause trouble for her again. Su Qingni looked at the locked kitchen door, pouted, carried her basket on her back, and went out holding the fool's hand. She took the fool to the mountain, dug out a nest of pheasant eggs, cooked them, and made breakfast for the fool. The fool has a poor appetite, so he should not eat meat in the morning. The fool is a quiet and well-behaved child, and he can sit in one place for a whole day. Su Qingni asked the fool to stay under a big tree, and set a circle of traps around the tree, and then quickly ran into the mountains. She dug a 200-year-old ginseng in the mountains, killed a few wild animals, and returned to the fool. Chapter 961, False Dragon and False Phoenix III. As expected, the fool sat obediently under the big tree. He seemed to be interested in insects and could even tease a small insect with his fingers. The traps around were not triggered. This is the outskirts of the mountain. There are only some small animals and few large wild animals. It is safe. Su Qingni pulled the fool down the mountain and went straight to the county town without returning to the Su family. The village is quite a distance away from the county town. Su Qingni doesn't care, but the fool can't walk that far. Su Qingni waited on the side of the road for a while and saw an ox cart. Su Qingni exchanged a roast chicken with the driver and asked the driver to take her and the fool to the county town. Su Qingni went to the medicine shop first and took out ginseng. She told the shopkeeper that she didn't want money, but just wanted to exchange it for a set of silver needles. Such a good deal, how could the shopkeeper agree? Fearing that Su Qingni would regret it, he immediately asked the waiter to find a set of silver needles and gave it to Su Qingni, and then asked the person to leave the medicine shop. Su Qingni was not angry, and took the fool to the restaurant and sold the wild animals to the restaurant. Seeing that Su Qingni and the fool were young, the shopkeeper of the restaurant wanted to lower the price. Su Qingni picked up a stone, closed her hands, and stone powder flowed out from the gap between her hands. The shopkeeper was so scared that he swallowed his saliva and dared not lower the price anymore, and even gave Su Qingni some more money. Su Qingni bought meat buns for the fool to eat. Now that the weather has turned cold, meat buns can be stored for several days, so Su Qingni bought more buns, some rice, flour and seasonings, and then took the fool back to the village, back to the Su family. The Su family was afraid that the two would ignore them, and Su Qingni ignored them and took the fool back to the firewood room. It's not that she doesn't want to leave the Su family, but she and the fool are still young now. If they leave the Su family to live outside, they will be bullied because of their appearance. In addition, Su Qingni has just started practicing, and she can't sneak into the county government to apply for a fake household registration without being discovered, so she can only live in the Su family temporarily. Anyway, the people of the Su family were scared and didn't dare to provoke them again. The household registration management in this world is very strict. If there is no household registration, it will be very troublesome for Su Qingni to leave with a fool. It is impossible to find a place to settle down without a household registration. When the Su family saw Su Qingni and the fool coming back, they all trembled and looked away, not daring to look at them. Su Qingni raised the corners of her lips slightly. Well, it's a good trick to scare people with ghosts. In the future, when I travel through the ancient world and become a poor little thing, I will use this trick to deal with people. Let the fool sit where he usually sits. Su Qingni took out a clay pot, took out a handful of rice and started to cook porridge. She added some wild vegetables to the porridge and sprinkled a pinch of salt. The taste is not bad, at least better than the modern vegetable porridge. The fool likes vegetable porridge very much, even more than yesterday's roast chicken. He drank a bowl of vegetable porridge, and his stomach was bulging. After eating a full meal, the fool began to doze off. Su Qingni waited until the fool fell asleep, and then began her own practice. In order to help the fool dredge the meridians in his head, she had to practice for a while and cultivate more internal strength. After that, Su Qingni took the fool into the mountains to hunt every day, and then went to the city to sell the prey for money to buy food. Su Qingni was afraid that the Su family would take advantage of her absence to deal with the fool, so she always kept the fool by her side. Although there were so-called ghosts to frighten him, the human heart was the most unpredictable, and sometimes evil people were more terrible than ghosts. Just like this, a month passed, and Su Qingni's health-preserving exercises had achieved certain results, and she began to treat the fool. The silver needles infused with the internal strength of the health-preserving exercises were inserted into the fool's head. These internal forces played a role in the fool's head, dredging the blocked meridians and nourishing and repairing the fool's brain. The internal strength of the health-preserving exercises contained vitality, and the treatment effect was very obvious. When Su Qingni took out all the silver needles, she was met with a pair of smart eyes. "Who are you?" the fool asked. Because he hadn't spoken for a long time, his voice was quite dry and hoarse. "Don't you recognize me?" Su Qingni asked. The fool nodded. "You are not a silly girl. Who are you?" Su Qingni was surprised that the fool could find the difference between himself and the bitch after he recovered. The fool said again, "The bitch doesn't have such powerful skills as you. This is smarter than ordinary people." Su Qingni sighed in her heart. "I am indeed not a bitch, I am Su Qingni. The bitch has left, she is worried about you, so she asked me to take care of you." The fool's eyes were red when he heard it. Is she dead? Although smart, he is a child after all, and he can't accept the death of his closest friend. Su Qingni said, "She just went to live a good life." The fool. Su Qingni, reincarnation, reborn as a lady of a rich family, with loving parents. That's good. The fool said this, but tears rolled down his face. Su Qingni sighed in her heart, hugged the fool's head into her arms, gently patted the fool's back with both hands, and said softly, "Cry, cry out all your sadness." The fool burst into tears. Su Qingni hugged the fool and kept patting him to comfort him. After a long time, the fool stopped crying and raised his head from Su Qingni's arms. There was sadness and embarrassment on his face. "Thank you," the fool whispered. Su Qingni touched his head and said gently, "You're welcome. I'm also your sister and will take care of you in the future." "I will take care of you too," the boy said hurriedly. Su Qingni smiled and said to him, "You are not a fool now, and I can't call you a fool. I'll give you a name." The boy nodded, with expectation in his eyes. He really wanted to have his own name, a nice name. Su Qingni said, "My name is Su Qingni. and you can be called Su Qingmo. Qing is the green that comes from the master, and Mo is the ink of the pen, ink, paper and inkstone. Su. The boy paused and called out the name sister. Sister, have you been to school? Can you recognize words? Su Qingni nodded. Su Qingmo hurriedly said, then can you teach me to read and recognize words? Su Qingni, do you like reading and recognizing words? Su Qingmo said, I like it. After reading and recognizing words, you can take the imperial examination, get fame, and become an official. In this way, I can protect and take care of your sister. Su Qingni was even more surprised. You even know about the imperial examination? Su Qingmo said, I was just trapped in my body before. I remember everything I saw and heard very clearly. I just couldn't control my body well and couldn't express my own meaning. I see. Su Qingni suddenly realized, and reached out to touch the boy's head again. From now on, I will ask you to read and recognize words every day, and I will also teach you martial arts. You have to work hard. Chapter 962, False Dragon and False Phoenix. That night, Su Qingni used the method she taught Su Sihei and Su Qingni in the previous world to teach Su Qingmo to practice health-preserving exercises. Su Qingmo was still a child, and was very curious about new things. He worked hard to practice health-preserving exercises, and gradually forgot the sadness of the bitch's departure. During the day, Su Qingni took Su Qingmo up the mountain, taught him to identify and pick medicinal herbs, and taught him simple medical skills. After hunting prey, Su Qingni took Su Qingmo to the county town and bought him enlightenment books with the money from selling wild animals. In the afternoon, Su Qingmo followed Su Qingni to learn to recognize words and enlightenment books, and practiced health-preserving exercises after dinner. This child is smart beyond ordinary people. In just half a year, he finished all the enlightenment books, and he also learned medical skills. His body became much stronger under the conditioning of health-preserving exercises. In the past 6 months, the Su family saw that the mother of the two children did not come out to make trouble again, and they became bolder, so they stretched their claws to Su Qingni and Su Qingmo, wanting to test them. Su Qingni cut off their claws neatly, frightening them again, and this time they were even more frightened. After all, last time only Su Shitao and Jian Shi were unlucky and injured. This time anyone in the Su family who was mean to the two children or had bad intentions was injured to varying degrees. I really don't want to see the faces of the Su family. Su Qingmo sat on a branch of a big tree. He had learned Qingguang, and it was easy for him to jump to the top of the tree. He also liked the feeling of climbing and jumping. Su Qingni said, be patient, wait for another 2 years, when we grow taller, we will leave the Su family. Su Qingmo nodded and agreed, sister, why don't we just build a small house in the mountains and live there, and not go back to the Su family? Su Qingni heard this and began to think about the feasibility of this idea. The mountain wind blew over, bringing a smell of blood. Su Qingni and Su Qingmo's faces were both solemn. This is the smell of human blood. Both of them were sure. In the past 6 months, the animals on the mountain have been harmed by them. They all know what animal blood smells like. This smell is definitely not animal blood. The two looked at each other and ran towards the direction where the blood smell came from. Su Qingni would not stop Su Qingmo from going over just because he was a child. In the past 6 months of getting along, she knew how smart the boy in front of her was and how strong and determined his character was. He was not someone who would be scared by a little blood. When the two arrived at the source of the blood smell, they saw 2 burly men killing the last person. The noise they made when they came over was not small, so the 2 men discovered them. Su Qingni and Su Qingmo clearly saw the murderous aura on the man's face, which was directed at them. Qingmo, you step back a little, let me deal with these 2 people. Su Qingmo obediently used Qinggong to step back a long way. He knew his own business. Although he had cultivated internal strength and learned Qinggong, he had no experience in fighting, so he should not hold his sister back. Su Qingni met the 2 men and subdued them with just 2 moves. There was no way. Although these 2 men were very powerful among ordinary people, they were completely incomparable to Su Qingni. But she didn't expect that these 2 men were dead men, and they actually bit the poison sac hidden in their mouths. The poison took effect very quickly, and one of the big men died immediately. Su Qingni only temporarily held the life of the other big man to prevent him from dying for the time being. Knowing that it was impossible to get the truth from these dead men by asking them questions, Su Qingni used hypnosis. Although the dead man was determined, he was poisoned and his mind was a little dazed by the toxin, And Su Qingni's hypnosis was very powerful, so he was hypnotized. From the big man, Su Qingni knew that they were one of the dead men trained by Zhang Jinghao. Zhang Jinghao's biological sister was the successor to the king of Sui Yuan, and their target this time was the 2 children of the king of Sui Yuan. It turned out that the king of Sui Yuan was over 40 years old, but he had no children. Previously, because of the fights among the women in the backyard, the children that were conceived were framed by other women and lost, and even the former princess lost her life because of the fights among the women in the backyard. The successor princess was newly married not long ago. She was young and healthy, and she had great means. She made all the other women in the backyard obedient and dared not make trouble. The successor princess felt that she could be pregnant with peace of mind and give birth to an heir. As a result, the doctor diagnosed that the Sui Yuan king could not let women get pregnant. This was simply a huge bad news. The Sui Yuan king was devastated. The people around him couldn't bear to see him like this, so they revealed to the Sui Yuan king that he actually had a pair of children. These 2 sons were born by the maidservant who used to serve him. The maidservant served the Sui Yuan king in the study, and the Sui Yuan king liked her very much. Originally, the Sui Yuan king wanted to give this maidservant a status and make her a concubine in the palace. But the former princess was one step faster than the Sui Yuan king and actually sold the maidservant. The girl was a family child, and her brother was an attendant of the Sui Yuan king. After knowing that her sister was sold by the former princess, he secretly bought her back. After knowing that her sister was pregnant with the prince's child, the attendant sent her sister to live in a distant city. He was a smart man and saw things clearly. The backyard of the palace was so messy that her sister would definitely not be able to survive with a child. If she hadn't miscarried the child, she would have died in childbirth. Although this brother was the prince's attendant, he really looked down on the prince's ability to manage his own inner curtain. He did this to protect his sister and her child. Unexpectedly, her sister still couldn't escape death during childbirth. She died of heavy bleeding after giving birth, leaving behind a pair of twins. This attendant named Qin Da still raised the 2 children outside, knowing the children were very likely to die. He was afraid that he would bring his niece and nephew back to the palace that day and hear about their deaths the next day. Qin Da wanted to wait until the 2 children grew up and had the power to protect themselves before telling the prince about their existence. But he didn't expect that the prince would do that. Now his nephew and niece are the only 2 children of the prince. Since the women in the mansion can't give birth to children, they should keep quiet and not do anything to the 2 children, right? So he told the existence of the 2 children to Prince Sui Yuan. When Prince Sui Yuan heard that he had a son and a daughter, he was so happy that he immediately sent Qin Da to pick up the 2 children and bring them back to the palace. Qin Da happily went to pick them up, but he didn't expect that the princess consort didn't want the 2 children to return to the palace. Since she can't have children in the future, and can't let her children inherit the palace, why should she give it to others? She would rather the Sui Yuan palace be extinct than have the palace be inherited by the children of other women in the future. Chapter 963, Virtual Dragon and Fake Phoenix 5. The princess consort was so bold and vicious that she even found an assassin from her mother's family and asked them to kill Qin Da and the 2 children halfway through the journey, pretending that they were killed by bandits. The 2 poor children died without ever seeing their biological father. When Su Qingni and Su Qingmo arrived, they saw that the last person killed by the assassin was Qin Da. After asking about the cause and effect, Su Qingni removed the restrictions on the assassin. The poison in the assassin's body suddenly erupted and the person died. Su Qingmo saw the bodies of 2 children who were about his age, and felt very sympathetic towards them. He said to Su Qingni, "Sister, let's bury them in peace." Su Qingni nodded, and suddenly an idea came to her mind. "Qingmo, go check the body of the boy and see if he has any birthmarks or other characteristics on his body." Qingmo turned back and looked at Su Qingni suddenly. "Sister, you want to?" Su Qingni nodded. Su Qingmo took a deep breath. "Sister, this is such a bold idea." Su Qingni smiled. "Then do you want to do it?" Su Qingmo's eyes were burning. "Yes." The 2 of them checked the bodies of the 2 young men and women respectively. After finding that they had no birthmarks or obvious features, they cut down trees to make 2 small coffins and buried the 2 people. Qin Da and the servants of the palace, and even the 2 dead soldiers, were also buried in the soil. Su Qingni gave 2 points of merit to the 2 children who died early, wishing them happiness and well-being in the next life. The 2 took the items proving Qin Da's identity, the household registration documents of the 2 dead children, and 2 tokens found from the dead soldiers, wrapped them in a cloth bag, and left to the other side of the mountain. They would not return to the Su family. More than half a month later, 2 children came to the door of Sui Yuan Palace, alarming the Sui Yuan king. Sui Yuan king quickly took the 2 children into the palace. Since then, there have been 2 more young masters in the palace and 1 less princess. Su Qingni and Su Qingmo did not let the king of Sui Yuan suspect. They talked about the robbery and murder on the road, saying that Qin Dai used his life to hold back the 2 robbers, allowing them to escape, but they died under the robbers' knives. Originally, they could not escape the robbers' knives, but they were lucky to meet a master who helped them. The master caught the robbers, but the robbers committed suicide by taking poison. The master found 2 tokens on the robbers and said that the robbers might be the death warriors of a certain family. The reason why the identity was exposed on the tokens was that they felt that these people were too weak and 2 people were enough to wipe them out. The king of Sui Yuan believed the words of the 2 children. He didn't think the 2 children could make up such a set of words to deceive him. He recognized whose family the token belonged to. Naturally, he understood why the 2 children were robbed and killed. The king of Sui Yuan was angry and hated the princess consort. In the past, the princess consort attacked other women in the backyard, but he didn't care. Women were toys anyway. If this batch was damaged, he could replace it with a new batch. But now the princess consort has attacked her own flesh and blood. This is his only flesh and blood. Did the consort want him to have no children or grandchildren? This touched the king of Sui Yuan's reverse scale. Even though the consort's natal brother was the general's right-hand man and had considerable power in the army, the king of Sui Yuan dealt with the consort ruthlessly and caused her to die suddenly. Although the consort's natal family was angry because of the consort's self-assertion, they were even more angry that the king of Sui Yuan showed no mercy and became hostile to the Sui Yuan palace. The king of Sui Yuan was not afraid of the consort's natal family at all. He knew that the royal family had long been extremely afraid of the general and had secretly planned to deal with the general. When the general fell, how long could the consort's natal family still jump around? Without the consort, Su Qingni and Su Qingmo had no enemies in the palace and lived a relaxed and happy life. The king of Sui Yuan attached great importance to pampering the 2 children. If they wanted the stars in the sky, the king of Sui Yuan would also ask people to find a way to pick them for them. However, the 2 children never made such excessive demands. They were sensible and polite, so the king of Sui Yuan said yes directly. Prince Sui Yuan is not a member of the royal family. He is a prince of a different surname and is also a family that is feared by the royal family. However, because there is such a huge target as the general standing in front, the Prince Sui Yuan's mansion is not so targeted by the royal family. Moreover, Prince Sui Yuan himself is a playboy and lives a more carefree life. Of course, the playboy is indeed a playboy, but the Prince Sui Yuan's mansion is not without its own power in secret. As a king of a different surname, if he has no power at all, he will become a fish on the chopping board of the royal family and would have been killed and cooked by the royal family long ago. Prince Sui Yuan cultivated Su Qingmo as his heir, and these secret forces were not hidden from Su Qingmo, and Su Qingni naturally knew about it. Thinking that the general and the royal family will have a war sooner or later, I am afraid that the world will be in chaos at that time. Su Qingni feels that the power of the palace needs to be strengthened. Su Qingni asked Su Qingmo, "Do you want to try to sit on the dragon throne?" Huh? Su Qingmo was stunned for a moment, then his eyes changed, and then he squinted his eyes and began to think. Su Qingni did not disturb him and let him think it over. Su Qingmo thought about it for 3 days. After 3 days, Su Qingmo gave Su Qingni an answer, "Sister, I want that position." There was something called ambition in the eyes of the young man, and his momentum changed. Su Qingni smiled, "Okay, I will help you." The young man said, "But now the world is relatively stable, I am afraid it will not be so easy for us to rebel." Su Qingni smiled, "The world will soon be in chaos." The young man frowned and said, "Is it General Taizhuang?" Su Qingni nodded, "The royal family wants to attack Taizhuang. How can Taizhuang not be prepared? The 2 sides are bound to fight, which will affect others. That will be your chance to create a foundation." The young man's eyes were shining. "I will seize this opportunity." After that, the young man studied harder. King Sui Yuan was very pleased with the young man's eagerness to learn, and found the best teacher to teach him, and also taught half of the power of the royal palace to the young man. Although Su Qingmo had half of the power of the palace, he did not trust his subordinates very much, Although these people obeyed his orders, they were more loyal to their old master, the king of Sui Yuan. So Su Qingmo began to cultivate his own power, and Su Qingni watched from the side and occasionally stepped out to give instructions. Before that, she had memorized a copy of the books on management and thick black studies and gave them to Su Qingmo to study. 4 years passed slowly. When Su Qingni was 15 years old, she heard that the general's mansion had sent people to Sujia village to pick someone up. Su Qingmo was very surprised to hear the news, and immediately ran to find Su Qingni. Sister, you are actually the general's biological daughter. Su Qingni poured Su Qingni a cup of tea and stuffed it into his hand. Drink a cup of tea and calm down. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 964, False Dragon and False Phoenix VI. Seeing Su Qingni's calm performance, Su Qingmo asked, Sister, did you know this a long time ago? Su Qingni nodded, yes. Su Qingmo continued to ask, then do you want to go back to the general? Su Qingni asked back, do you want me to go back? Su Qingmo shook his head. He only had 2 relatives in his heart, one was the bitch and the other was Su Qingni. The bitch was gone, and he didn't want Su Qingni to leave. Su Qingni smiled, then I won't go back. Will you? Won't you regret it? They are your relatives. Su Qingmo said. Su Shitao's family is still your relatives. Do you want to love them together? Su Qingni asked. Su Qingmo shook his head, then exhaled and felt relieved. My only relative is you, sister. Su Qingni smiled, my only relative is you. Although Su Qingni clearly stated that she would not return to the general's mansion, Su Qingmo still cared about the things there. He secretly sent people to pay attention to everything in the general's mansion, and thus discovered a secret connection between Taizhiru and the third prince. Su Qingmo would share the news with Su Qingni as soon as he got it, so Su Qingni was also very clear about the dynamics of the general's mansion and Taizhiru, the third prince. Taizhiru and the third prince have been secretly colluding with each other for a long time. The identity exchange between Taizhiru and your sister was discovered by the royal family. Taizhiru knew that she was not a member of the Tai family, so she completely turned to the royal family. In the past 2 years, Taizhiru revealed a lot of news about the general's mansion to the third prince. However, because she is a woman, Taizhiru would not let her know many things, especially confidential matters, which she could not even touch the corners. This time, the identity was revealed because Taizhiru and the third prince could no longer get more useful information from the Tai family, so they wanted to get out of the Tai family through this matter. Su Qingmo said. Su Qingni snorted lightly. She knew Taizhiru's thoughts better than Su Qingmo. This woman can push innocent people into the Shura field just for her own survival and for wealth and glory. Her selfishness and cruelty are obvious. Su Qingmo continued to talk about the dynamics of the general and Taizhiru. The people sent by the general's mansion to Sujia village have returned, and they really brought back someone. Guess who it is? Su Qingni thought about the girls in the Su family who were the same age as the bitch, and said, it's either Su Qingni or Su Chunlin. Su Qingni and Su Chunlin are the bitch's cousins, one is half a year older than the bitch, and the other is 1 year younger than the bitch. It's Su Chunlin. Su Qingmo sneered, she has been more clever and more pleasing than other girls since she was a child. Compared with Su Qingni, who is honest and dull, the Su family must have chosen her to come to the general's mansion to enjoy life. Su Qingni knew from the memory of the bitch that Su Chunlin often took pleasure in bullying the bitch and the fool. She had a very bad impression of her and sneered, she thinks her life is too long and she comes here to die. You must know that after the impersonation is exposed, the general's mansion will definitely not let Su Chunlin and the Su family go. Do you think it's so easy to get into the noble mansion? If they want to recognize their bloodline, won't they investigate carefully? Sure enough, within a few days, Su Qingmo got the news. The people in the general's mansion found out that Su Chunlin was not their girl. Their girl had been lost 4 years ago. The people in the general's mansion were furious and drove Su Chunlin out of the general's mansion. Su Chunlin was very good at speaking and dealing with things. She was treated much better than the cheap girl in her previous life when she entered and exited the general's mansion. The old lady and the lady of the general's mansion had a good impression of her. The girl they found, and they felt sorry for her. The servants did not dare to look down on Su Qingni because of their master's attitude, and were quite respectful to her. Su Qingni ate well and slept well in the general's mansion, had beautiful clothes and jewelry, and could marry a rich young man in the future instead of marrying a farmer and being a peasant woman. Su Qingni felt that this life was worth it. But after enjoying it for only a few days, her true identity was exposed. She was driven out of the general's mansion with nothing, all her dreams were shattered, and she fell from the sky. Su Qingni was going crazy. It is said that she has been waiting outside the door of the general's mansion these days and said that she is the lady of the general's mansion, which made many people laugh. Su Qingni felt that Su Qingni's mind was no longer normal. She really regarded herself as a young lady, and she was unwilling to admit from the bottom of her heart that she was just an ordinary peasant girl. How could the people in the general's mansion allow a woman to cause trouble in front of their door? Su Qingni was captured by the general's mansion and sent directly out of the capital. No one knew whether she was sent back to Sujia village or died. Su Qingni sent people to Sujia village to inquire about the news. He learned that Su Qingni did not return to Sujia village, and the Su family was having a hard time. Su Shitao broke his leg when he went out, Su Qingni's father broke his other leg, and Su Qingni's brother was lured into gambling and lost all the family's money. The Su family is even poorer than before. Su Qingni didn't care after hearing this. He didn't think about helping the Su family. Tai's heiress still entered the third prince's mansion. Just like the bitch in her previous life, Tai Zhuang became suspicious of the royal family and Tai's hero because of this incident. He secretly arranged for people to investigate and secretly sent everyone in the mansion out of the capital. This time, no bitch girl came forward to cover the general's mansion. The royal family soon discovered the abnormality of the general's mansion and immediately took action against the general's mansion. The general led his men to kill out of the capital, and there were still many people in the mansion who had not moved away. Among these people were Tai Zhuang's biological mother, the old lady of the general's mansion, Tai Zhuang's wife and the other 3 daughters. They were abandoned because they were women. These 5 people were not good to the bitch girl in their previous lives. The old lady and the general's wife looked down on the bitch girl for being from the countryside. They thought she was rude and timid, and was not worthy of being a lady of the general's mansion. They turned a blind eye to the bitch girl, and it was the general's wife who proposed to keep the bitch girl in the mansion to cover them. Even a tiger will not eat its own cubs. This general's wife is not worthy of the title of mother. As for the other 3 daughters of the general, they are all concubines, and the bitch girl is a legitimate daughter in status, and her status is higher than theirs. They are extremely jealous, and they can't stand a country girl standing on their heads, so they target the bitch girl in various ways. It can be said that these 5 women are not innocent. They bullied the bitch girl in their previous lives and were sorry for her. In this life, they have fallen into the same fate as the bitch girl in her previous life. This is what is called karma. The royal family found that the general had escaped, so they let the imperial guards break into the general's mansion, and the butcher knife fell. The women who were left behind ended up with the same fate as the bitch girl in her previous life. However, they will not be alone on the road to the underworld. People from the Tai family will come down to accompany them one after another. There will also be people from the royal family to accompany them. Chapter 965, Virtual Dragon and Fake Phoenix 7. The world is in chaos. The general had long wanted to rebel, and the royal family had made sufficient preparations. The 2 sides were evenly matched. The war broke out, involving many forces. Because the royal family was orthodox, there were more people supporting them, but most of them were civil officials. Tai Zhuang had a very high prestige in the army, and there were more generals supporting him. Their fight involved too many people, and the whole world was stirred up. After Su Qingni received the news that the general's mansion was broken into by the imperial guards, he went to find the king of Sui Yuan. The 2 father and son talked for a long time in the study, and then called several staff members of the palace into the study. The next day, Su Qingni received the news that he was ready to leave the capital. Although the palace was in the capital, the ancestors of the king of Sui Yuan did not give up their business in their hometown. It can be said that their hometown was their base camp, and some of the forces that Su Qingni secretly operated were also around it. Now the royal family's attention is all on the Tai family and its party members, and they have no intention of paying attention to other people. The relationship between the prince of Sui Yuan and the general was not good because of the matter of the successor princess. The royal family knew about it and always thought that the Prince of Sui Yuan was a playboy and had no defense against him. Originally, there were people secretly monitoring the palace, but after the death of the successor princess, those people withdrew. No more resources were wasted on the Prince of Sui Yuan. After returning to his hometown, the Prince of Sui Yuan began to move. However, his actions were smaller than those of others, and they did not arouse the fear of others. The Prince of Sui Yuan has been a playboy all his life. Even if he was capable in the early days, after decades of wine and sex, he didn't have much. Moreover, this guy likes to enjoy and doesn't like to do things, so he pushed his cheap son Su Qingni out and let him manage all affairs and become the real head of the Prince of Sui Yuan's palace. At first, others were worried that Su Qingni was too young to take on the responsibility, but after contacting him, they found that this young master was much more powerful than the Prince of Sui Yuan. His ability and means, these old guys had to give a thumbs up and say serve. Su Qingni implemented the strategy given to him by Su Qingni, build high walls, store up food, and slowly claim the throne, and has been developing in a shabby way, slowly encroaching on the surrounding areas. However, Su Qingni was very tough and set up a research and development department despite the opposition of others, and let his sister Su Qingni be the head of this department. The subordinates all felt that Su Qingni had the posture of a tyrant. They looked down on women and thought that Su Qingni was joking about big things to please his sister. For a period of time, there was an endless stream of voices persuading Su Qingni, which made Su Qingni feel earache. As a good sister who considers her brother, Su Qingni must of course help her brother solve such problems quickly and shut up those subordinates. So Su Qingni took out the huge Liangyu and pedal water wheel. The same is used in the army and the same is used in agriculture. The effects of both things are amazing, and they successfully blocked everyone's mouths. It turns out that the capable young master's sister is also capable. They are twins after all. If you want to be excellent, you must be excellent together. Everyone no longer opposed Su Qingni taking charge of the R&D department, thinking that they still expected Su Qingni to research more and better things. Su Qingni did not disappoint their expectations. One by one, the craftsmen researched good things under Su Qingni's guidance. Needless to say, the harder and sharper weapons, the R&D department also used the gunpowder used to make fireworks and firecrackers in weapons, and made firewood warehouses, grenades and mines, as well as red cannons. The lethality was amazing. With these 4 artifacts, even if there were only 1,000 people on their side, they could kill the enemy's 100,000 soldiers. In addition to researching weapons, they also researched many daily necessities. Improved agricultural tools, new means of transportation, bicycles and tricycles, cement for building houses and roads, convenient, fast and strong for building city walls, alcohol for cleaning wounds, and gold wound medicine with better treatment effects on injuries. What surprised everyone the most was that the R&D department actually researched more high-yield grains and so-called scientific planting methods. This directly quadrupled the grain production in their territory, and they no longer had to worry about insufficient food and grass. Everyone began to take Su Qingni, the little princess, seriously. This was a woman who was as brave as a man. This reminded everyone of Princess Pingxin when the Tang dynasty was founded. This woman led tens of thousands of troops and fought for her father and brothers on the battlefield. She made great contributions to the founding of the Tang dynasty, and her military exploits were outstanding and she was feared in Guangdong. Although Su Qingni did not lead troops like Princess Pingxin, her contribution to logistics was no less than that of Princess Pingxin. The master and the young master were able to conquer the world in the future, and the little princess had made a great contribution. Su Qingni now received sincere respect from others when she went out, and she conquered everyone with her strength. 5 years passed in a flash, and the battle between the general and the royal family also came to an end. The royal family was slightly better and won the final victory. Taizong died, and his sons and men did not survive. It was still good to die on the battlefield. If you were caught by the royal side, death would become a luxury. Su Qingni saved several children of the Tai family because this body was related to the Tai family by blood. These children were all under 5 or 6 years old. They were young, and when they grew up a few years later, their appearance changed, and other people could not find out that they were related to the Tai family. Su Qingni hypnotized several children, making them forget that they were members of the Tai family, and sent them to almost ordinary families in the territory of the Sui Yuan king. These families were childless, and they were very happy to be able to adopt a child, and they were also very good to the children. Su Qingni saw that the children were doing well, so she no longer paid attention to them. Her attention was placed on helping Su Qingmo fight for the world. Although the royal family defeated the general, it was only a miserable victory. After several years of fighting, they had consumed a lot and were unable to suppress the forces in other places. After the rebellion of the general, these forces also became ambitious and eyed the court covetously. The royal family was unable to suppress them and could only win them over. However, not many people bought into it. Only some people who wanted to hold the emperor hostage to control the princes accepted the royal family's solicitation with a smile on the surface, but in fact they were planning how to plot against the royal family. This situation did not last long. After one of the forces entered the capital and imitated Dongzhou to control the royal family, the other forces could not sit still. They began to send troops in the name of fighting against the rebels, and the world fell into chaos. The Suiyuan Palace has now accumulated very powerful strength. This time, they also joined the battle. The strength of the Suiyuan Palace was displayed to the world, and they were unstoppable all the way and took down all the forces that stood in their way. Chapter 966, False Dragon and False Phoenix 8. It only took 2 years for the Suiyuan Palace to take over the whole world. Suiyuan King ascended the throne. However, he was the emperor for only half a year before he abdicated to Su Qingmo. He saw clearly that everyone in the court was Su Qingmo's people, and he, the emperor, was just a mascot. If anything happened, everyone would look for Su Qingmo. Anyway, Su Qingmo was his son, haha, and he only had this one son, haha, and the family business would be left to this son. And it was too tiring to get up early in the morning to attend the morning court, and he wanted to sleep in. So, the Suiyuan king, who liked to enjoy himself, decided to be a free and high-ranking emperor. And his decision was very wise. If he didn't abdicate quickly, Su Qingmo and Su Qingni would use means to make him abdicate. Although Su Qingmo and Su Qingni had no feelings for this emperor, and most of them were just using him, they were still grateful to him. It was the emperor who gave them the capital to turn over and become the upper class. Although they might achieve such achievements with their abilities, it would definitely take a long time. Therefore, Su Qingmo and Su Qingni were very good to the emperor, and they indulged his behavior. Of course, this was when the emperor did not cross the line. Su Qingmo conferred the title of Princess Dinguo on Su Qingni, gave her the ability to participate in politics, and was in charge of the Ministry of Industry. The R&D department had been merged into the Ministry of Industry. Every time Su Qingmo sat on the dragon chair to accept the worship of the court officials, he would sigh that a little fool in the past would actually have a day to ascend to the throne. No one could have imagined it, right? After the court, the two siblings came to the imperial study together, and the eunuchs and palace maids were driven out of the door. The palace maids and eunuchs were used to it. The eldest princess had a close relationship with the emperor, and often said some secret words that others would not hear. "Sister, when are you getting married?" Su Qingmo asked, holding a teacup. His legitimate son is 2 years old, and the harem has also gone through a selection, and many new people have entered, but his sister is still alone and has become an old girl. As a younger brother, I have to worry about this sister. What will I do when she gets old? I'll get married when I meet the person who belongs to me. Su Qingni said. She had a premonition that she could meet Tai in this world, but she hasn't met him yet. Sister, you are perfunctory with me again. Su Qingmo said helplessly. Su Qingni smiled. I'm not perfunctory with you. Really, I just want to marry that person, only that person. Who is that person? I don't know yet, I'll know when I meet him. Su Qingmo sighed, still feeling that Su Qingni was perfunctory with him. Forget it, if sister doesn't want to get married, then don't get married. At most, he will adopt a son of his own to his sister, and let him break the pot and wear mourning for his sister after his death. The two talked about some things in the court again, mostly Su Qingmo said and Su Qingni listened. Su Qingni didn't express her opinion easily. In this world, she has helped Su Qingmo too much. In the future, it depends on Su Qingmo himself. After leaving the palace, Su Qingni did not take a carriage, but walked on the streets of the capital like an ordinary civilian. She changed out of her cumbersome princess costumes and wore only a simple dress. She braided her hair into 2 big braids that fell on her chest. She looked like a girl of 17 or 18. The streets of the capital were very prosperous, and Su Qingni was strolling around with great interest. Suddenly, Her heart skipped a beat and her eyes locked on a man. He was a man who made a living by selling calligraphy and paintings. He looked very similar to the scholar who sold calligraphy and paintings in the storybooks. He was young, handsome, and elegant, which attracted the attention of young girls. However, these girls' eyes were regretfully withdrawn after they touched the wheelchair the man was sitting in, and then they lost interest in the man. It's a pity that such a good-looking and talented man turned out to be a cripple. The budding spring heart was discouraged by the wheelchair. But this could not make Su Qingni retreat. Not to mention that Su Qingni's medical skills and the exercises she practiced could help the man stand up. Even if the man could never stand up again in his life, she would still be determined to be with this man. Su Qingni walked forward. The man was slightly startled when he saw Su Qingni, then smiled. Does this girl want to buy calligraphy and paintings? Su Qingni glanced at the calligraphy and paintings hanging around, nodded and said, your calligraphy and paintings are very good, with their own style, comparable to those of the masters. I will buy them all. The man said, thank you for your praise, but if you like them, you can just buy one or two, no need to buy them all. Su Qingni raised her eyebrows. Do you think I can't afford to buy all the calligraphy and paintings? No. The man denied. But he really thought so in his heart. He felt that the girl in front of him might be the same as the girls he had met before, who bought his calligraphy and paintings because they sympathized with him. It's just that this girl is more generous. She wants to buy all his calligraphy and paintings. But looking at the girl's clothes, she doesn't look like a rich person. Even if his calligraphy and paintings are not expensive, it will cost a lot of money to buy them all. Can this girl come up with so much money? If she comes up with so much money at one time, won't her family punish her? Su Qingni stared at the man with burning eyes. Seeing through his thoughts, she smiled and said, don't worry, I have money, and I really like your calligraphy and painting. Although your calligraphy and painting are not as good as Wang Zizi and Gu Keizi, they are also of great style and are worth collecting. The man felt that he had a soulmate with Su Qingni after hearing her words. Facing Su Qingni's smiling face, the man's heartbeat accelerated by 2 points. Su Qingni said, but I don't have so much money with me now. You can take your calligraphy and painting home with me, and I will give you money. The man had a good impression of Su Qingni, and did not realize Su Qingni's trick of the big bad wolf to trick the little white rabbit home, so he agreed. He took down the hanging calligraphy and painting, rolled them up, and put them in the book box. The man held the book box on his knees, manipulated the wheelchair with both hands, and said to Su Qingni, where's the girl's home? Please lead the way. Su Qingni walked behind the man and pushed the wheelchair. I'll push you there. The man blushed and accepted Su Qingni's kindness. Su Qingni pushed the man to her princess's mansion. She moved so fast that she almost had to use Qingguang. The man saw the changes in the surrounding scenery and began to doubt Su Qingni's identity. This woman was definitely not an ordinary person. Her home was actually located in an area where the powerful and wealthy lived. Who is she? Did she know his identity and have some intentions towards him? The man didn't know that Su Qingni did have some intentions towards him, but they were not what he thought. Su Qingni pushed the wheelchair to the gate of her mansion and said, we're here. The man looked up and saw a plaque with black background and gold characters hanging above the gate of the mansion, with the words Princess Dingo's Mansion written on it. Chapter 967, Virtual Dragon and Fake Phoenix 9. You are the Princess Dingo. The man was so surprised that the bookcase on his knees fell to the ground. Yes. Su Qingni responded. The man's face turned pale. I am just a useless waste. Are you going to kill me? Su Qingni raised her eyebrows. This question was strange. Could it be that this man has an extraordinary identity? Or is he our enemy? Su Qingni waved her hand and called the doorman over. She whispered a few words to him and then pushed the man into the gate of the princess's mansion. What are you going to do? The man asked. He was pushed into the main courtyard where Su Qingni lived. Seeing that it was not a prison, the man felt confused. He didn't know what use he, a disabled prince of the previous dynasty, had for the princess of the new dynasty. I need a son-in-law. Su Qingni smiled. I have taken a fancy to you. The man's face flushed red all of a sudden. He wanted to scold Su Qingni for being shameless, but the joy that was faintly rising in his heart made him unable to say a word of reprimand, but instead he felt worried. He gave up the idea because he was worried that the woman in front of him would know his identity. However, instead of letting the woman in front of him find out his identity, it would be better for him to tell her himself. Do you know who I am? I am Huangfu Kiu. The man said his name. Huangfu was the surname of the royal family of the previous dynasty. Su Qingni had also heard of the name Huangfu Kiu. Su Qingmo asked someone to make a booklet with the information of each royal family member. Su Qingni flipped through the booklet. Huangfu Kiu is the fifth son of the emperor of the previous dynasty, but he was born with a disability and could not walk. He was disliked by the emperor. Although he had the title of a prince, his life in the harem was worse than that of ordinary palace people. However, because of his disability, other princes would not regard him as an opponent, and the concubines in the harem would not take action against him, allowing him to live peacefully until adulthood without getting involved in the struggle for the throne among the princes. Also because of his disability, Taizong and the one who later held the emperor hostage to control the princes did not think of Huangfu Kiu. Also because of his disability, when other royal family members lost their lives, he survived well. Also because of his disability, Su Qingmo did not supervise him like other members of the royal family of the previous dynasty, but made him a free civilian. However, his financial conditions were not good, and he could only make a living by selling calligraphy and paintings. Su Qingni pinched her chin, smiling like a dandy who had robbed a decent woman. No matter what your identity is, I have taken a fancy to you. You will only have one identity in the future, that is, my Su Qingni's consort. Huangfu Kiu's face turned redder, and he said, "Aren't you afraid that the emperor will object?" Su Qingni smiled, "My brother will not object. On the contrary, he will be happy that I am willing to get married." Huangfu Kiu was silent. He almost forgot that this eldest princess is a famous old girl in the capital. She is in her 20s and has not yet married. I think the emperor is also very troubled by her marriage. You stay in my house and we will get married in a few days. Su Qingni did not allow Huangfu Kiu to object, and said forcefully, and called a few maids to come in and send Huangfu Kiu to the guest house, and then let the maids find their sons to serve Huangfu Kiu. She didn't want the maid to touch her man. Huangfu Kiu sweated. Was he forcibly robbed of a commoner? After Huangfu Kiu left, a maid entered the room and began to report to Su Qingni the information about Huangfu Kiu that she had investigated. Huangfu Kiu is 1 year older than Su Qingni, but because he is not favored by the old emperor, he has never been granted a princess, not even a maid. The women in the palace are all ambitious, so why would they climb into the bed of a disabled prince like him? Later, the general rebelled and the world was in chaos, so Huangfu Kiu's marriage was delayed, and he is still alone. Su Qingni pinched her chin, very satisfied with this. "Help me change my clothes, I want to go to the palace immediately." "Yes." Su Qingni changed her clothes and rushed into the palace. Su Qingmo was already waiting for her sister in the imperial study. Someone had already reported to Su Qingmo about Su Qingni's robbing a commoner. He also asked someone to find out Huangfu Kiu's identity. Su Qingmo didn't care about Huangfu Kiu's identity as a prince of the previous dynasty. Those emperors who cared about the royal blood of the previous dynasty were just incompetent. He is powerful, which will make the country he built stronger and stronger, and the people's lives better and better. How can the people miss the royal family of the previous dynasty and help the royal family of the previous dynasty to subvert their own world? Su Qingmo just thinks that Huangfu Kiu is not worthy of her sister. Even if Huangfu Kiu is talented and excellent in calligraphy and painting, he is a cripple. How can he be worthy of her sister who is like a god? "Sister, what do you like about Huangfu Kiu?" Su Qingmo asked. Su Qingni replied, "I like everything about him. He is the man I want in my life. But he is a cripple. With me here, he will stand up. Even if he can't stand up, I can take care of him for the rest of his life." "Do you like him so much?" "Yes." "Okay then." Su Qingmo compromised helplessly. He knew that once Su Qingni made a decision, no one else could pull it back. "Thank you." Su Qingni smiled. "Why do you and I need to say thank you as a brother and sister?" Su Qingmo would not even call himself I in front of Su Qingni. Su Qingmo shocked many people when he issued an imperial decree to grant marriage to Princess Dinguo and the fifth prince of the previous dynasty, now a commoner Huangfu Kiu. Others thought that this move was full of deep meaning, and it was a means for the two royal siblings to win over the remaining forces of the previous dynasty. But there were not many forces left in the previous dynasty, and Su Qingmo and Su Qingni were too lazy to win them over. It was the remaining forces of the previous dynasty who were mentally abnormal. They ran to Huangfu Kiu to recommend themselves, and gave Huangfu Kiu an idea to let him plot against Su Qingmo's harem through Princess Dinguo, kill Su Qingmo's children, so that Su Qingmo would have no son to inherit the throne in the future, and could only adopt the children of Su Qingni and Huangfu Kiu as heirs. In this way, they can restore the previous dynasty. Huangfu Kiu chuckled twice and handed the group of people directly to Su Qingni. He had no feelings for those people in the previous dynasty's royal family, and he helped them to avenge because he was too greedy. And restore the previous dynasty? Exclamation mark. He felt that being the consort of the new dynasty was 100 times better than being the prince of the previous dynasty, so he didn't want to help these people from the previous dynasty. Su Qingni then handed these people over to Su Qingmo, who used them to wipe out the remaining forces of the previous dynasty. Su Qingni and Huangfu Kiu lived happily for their whole lives, and they had no children. Su Qingmo thought that it was those words that made Su Qingni and Huangfu Kiu decide not to have children, and he felt guilty about it, not knowing that it was impossible for two great gods to have mortal children. Chapter 968, Cannon Fodder and Palace Fighting. In the previous life, I traveled through time and space to become the real daughter of the general's mansion, but in this life, I traveled through time and space to become a fake daughter. Su Qingni didn't know what to say. In fact, she was not a fake daughter. Her original body was just an adopted daughter in the general's mansion. It turned out that the second daughter of the general's mansion, Su Yanhong, was lost at the Lantern Festival when she was 3 years old. The general's mansion searched for Su Yanhong for a long time but couldn't find her. The general's wife was sad. When she saw a girl of the same age, she would think of her daughter. The original body was a distant niece of the general's wife's family. Both her parents died in an accident. She lived in her uncle's house, but her aunt and other cousins didn't like her. They thought she was unlucky and often bullied the little girl. Once the general's wife went back to her parents' home, she happened to see the little girl being bullied by others. Seeing that the little girl was the same age as her daughter, the general's wife couldn't help but think that her daughter was also bullied outside. The general's wife couldn't help but feel pity for the little girl, so she took the little girl back to the general's mansion and raised her by her side. The little girl is equivalent to Su Yanhong's substitute. General Su and his 2 sons are not close to the little girl. They pay more attention to blood. Even Su Yunzi, the eldest lady of the Su family, is also a face-saving person to the little girl. The only one who is sincere to the little girl in the whole general's mansion is the general's wife. But the little girl is already very satisfied. The general's mansion has good food and accommodation, will not be bullied, and can learn various knowledge and skills with Miss Su. The little girl feels very satisfied. The little girl is well behaved and sensible, and she did not forget herself because of the sudden promotion of status. She lived happily for 12 years, and suddenly the second lady of the Su family was found. The second lady of the Su family was adopted by a wealthy merchant. She has lived a good life for more than 10 years. But the Su family felt that Su Yanhong had suffered a lot outside, and everyone had a compensatory guilt in their hearts, and gave Su Yanhong everything they asked for. Su Yanhong did not like the original body and felt that the original body had robbed her of her identity, so the Su family followed Su Yanhong's wishes and alienated the original body. Su Yanhong still didn't let the original body go. She just felt that the original body staying in the general's mansion was an eyesore to her, so she framed the original body and asked the people in the general's mansion to drive the original body out of the mansion. Her little tricks could not be hidden from General Su and the general's wife. But General Su never regarded the original body as a family member, and the general's wife didn't care about the original body so much after her biological daughter returned. Since the younger daughter doesn't like the adopted daughter, let's put up with the adopted daughter for now. At most, find a good family for the adopted daughter and marry her off as soon as possible. So the original body was sent to a farm where she came as a dowry by the general's wife. Being abandoned by the Su family, the original body was naturally very sad, but before she could cry enough, something happened to the Su family. The Su family was executed, the men were beheaded, and the women were exiled. The original body was just an adopted daughter of the Su family, and was abandoned by the Su family, so the emperor didn't bother to care about the original body, which allowed the original body to escape and not be caught and exiled with other women in the Su family. The original body did not believe that the news was true. You know, General Su was in a high position and Su Yunzi was the queen. How could the Su family confiscate the family and destroy the whole family? The original body ran into the capital frantically and ran to the general's mansion. What he saw was the sealed gate and the blood of the Su family men flowing at the market. The original body could not bear this stimulation, and ended up losing his life, and his body was left to Su Qingni. Su Qingni sent the original body's soul into the underworld to reincarnate, and hurriedly practiced health-preserving exercises. Whether it was to get information or to do other things, you had to be in good health. The next day, Su Qingni changed her original body's silk clothes and put on linen clothes, disguised as an ordinary peasant woman, and went into the city to continue to get information. The adult men of the Su family died, and the women were exiled. The only male member of the entire Su family was Su Horan, the 5-year-old son of the eldest son of the Su family. But the road to exile was very difficult, and it was unknown whether this only seedling of the Su family could hold on and survive. Su Qingni thought about it, bought some dry food and went to chase the exiled people. There are too many mysteries in the Su family, so let's wait until the remaining women and children of the Su family are rescued. Fortunately, even if she is in a hurry, her health-preserving skills can be kept running. In this way, Su Qingni is no longer a weak woman who is powerless. When she catches up with the exiled people, she has already acquired certain skills and sneaks into the exile team without being discovered by the officials. Su Qingni was a step late. Only one general's wife was left among the women of the Su family, and all the other women were dead. They were good-looking, which attracted the officials' obscene covetousness. In order to maintain their reputation, many of them committed suicide. Some of them were taken advantage of by the officials in order to survive, but they could not endure the hardships along the way, and a cold took their lives. As for Su Yunhong, she escaped alone. When Su Qingni saw the general's wife, she was also sick and dying. When she saw Su Qingni, the general's wife thought she was an illusion before death. Madam. Su Qingni did not call the general's wife mother like her original body. She transferred a trace of internal force into the general's wife's body, temporarily saving the general's wife's life. Qingni, why are you here? The general's wife felt more energetic and spoke more smoothly. Only then did she realize that she was not dreaming, but Su Qingni really appeared in front of her. I heard about the Su family and rushed to find you, but I was late. Su Qingni said. You are a good child. The general's wife sighed. I was blind and misjudged her. The selfishness and abandonment of her own daughter made the general's wife cold-hearted. It turned out that she was not raised by herself, and her character was worrying. It was normal for her to frame Su Qingni at the beginning and abandon her as her own mother now. It was also because she did not know people well and wronged her adopted daughter, who she had taught for more than 10 years. Su Qingni found out about Su Yunhong's escape, and also found out that because of her escape, other women in the Su family were punished. Someone came to save Su Yunhong. With that person's force, it would be possible to rescue all the women and children of the Su family. But Su Yunhong felt that the women and children of the Su family were a burden, so she ruthlessly abandoned them. Her cold-bloodedness makes people feel sick. Only the men who are fascinated by her think that everything she does is right, and glorify her decisiveness and efficiency in doing things. Su Qingni did not mention Su Yunhong, and said to the general's wife, I will rescue Horan, take care of him and keep a root for the Su family. The general's wife was excited, raised her hands and grabbed Su Qingni. Su Qingni stretched out her hand for the general's wife to hold. Good boy, good boy. The general's wife was very excited. Horan is in your hands. Chapter 969, Cannon Fodder and Palace Fighting. The general's wife had been holding on to her last breath because she was worried about her only relative, Su Horan. She was worried that if she died, Su Horan would become an orphan, helpless, and a child who would not live long. Now Su Qingni took the initiative to say that she would help her take care of Su Horan, and the general's wife was relieved and relaxed. The hands holding Su Qingni's wrists slipped, and the general's wife lost her life. Su Qingni sighed, picked up the child next to the general's wife, carried her on her back, tied her up with a cloth strip, and then went outside to get clean water to wake up the unconscious prisoners one by one. Some of these prisoners were implicated by the general's mansion, and some were convicted by the emperor for other crimes. There were no evil people among them, but the emperor was in power and suppressed the ministers he disliked in various ways. The worst was the general's mansion, where all the men died. The other man did not die and was exiled with his family. Although Su Qingni practiced the health-preserving skills, her skills were only enough to support her to sneak to the general's wife. It was impossible to talk so much to the general's wife without being discovered by the officials. So she prepared a drug, similar to the sad breeze, colorless and odorless, which could make people faint when it was dispersed in the air. The solution to this drug is clean water. Pour a handful of water on the person's face and the person will be awake. Su Qingni poured water on all the people except the officials to wake them up, and let them choose where to go, whether to escape or stay and wait for the officials to wake up and continue exile. It all depends on their own choice. Both methods have their pros and cons. After escaping, there will be no legitimate household registration, and there will be no way to enter the court again in the future. If you choose to continue exile, it depends on whether their lives are strong enough and whether they can survive to the place of exile. People began to escape one after another. These were prisoners who had no money to bribe the officials. Those who had relatives and friends and money to bribe the officials stayed. Su Qingni took the body of the general's wife and walked back all the way. She found the bodies of other women in the Su family, bought a few coffins, and buried them. During this period, Su Qingni followed her silently. After the great changes in the family, the 5-year-old child has changed a lot and become more sensible. The little bully in the family has become well-behaved and obedient. He was afraid that Su Qingni would lose him, so he followed Su Qingni wherever she went. Whatever Su Qingni asked him to do, he did it, and he was so well-behaved. Su Qingni pitied the child and was very gentle to him. The child became more dependent on her. Su Qingni taught the child to start learning kung fu. The prison life and exile life during this period have caused a lot of damage to the child's body. If it is not properly made up, it will affect the child's lifespan. The child squatted horse stance to learn kung fu seriously, and did not complain about being tired. He understood that his aunt was doing it for his own good. And he had another idea in his mind. He wanted to learn skills well and avenge his grandparents, father, mother, second uncle and second aunt in the future. Su Qingni felt the anger in the child's heart, so she began to teach him to read, teach him the truth, and let him distinguish right from wrong. Revenge is fine, but it cannot be dominated by hatred. Su Qingni took the child back to the capital. The manor that the general's wife married with was no longer accessible. Without the master, it was unknown what would happen to the servants in the manor. Moreover, those high-ranking officials did not care, but those small officials would not let go of such a manor. Su Qingni bought a small house and settled Su Qingni in it. Because Su Qingni was already sensible, Su Qingni did not find anyone to take care of Su Qingni. During the day, Su Qingni went out to inquire about the news, and came back at night to practice. Su Qingni had no time to cook, and all 3 meals depended on buying food outside. It happened that there was a noodle stall on the street where they lived, not far from where they lived, and Su Qingni could buy food from the stall himself without worrying about being taken away by kidnappers. Every noon, Su Qingni would use the copper coin Su Qingni left for him to eat noodles. At other times, he would practice martial arts and read. Children are hardworking and don't waste any time. Although a lot of news can be heard in the market, even some news from officials' houses can be obtained, but the news from the palace is rarely heard. Su Qingni also only heard that Su Yanzi was implicated in the affairs of the Su family, and had been abolished as the queen and was sent to the cold palace. As for whether she is still alive, she doesn't know. Su Qingni still wants to go to the palace. She thinks she should be able to get more information from Su Yanzi. After Su Qingni fell asleep, Su Qingni placed a protective and trapping formation in her yard, put on dark clothes, and performed qigong to go to the palace. The original body is quite familiar with the palace. When she was 12 years old, Su Yanzi became the mistress of the palace. The general's wife often took the original body to the palace to visit Su Yanzi, and the original body left footprints in most of the palaces in the harem. As for where the harem is, the original body also knows. Once when he was having fun, the original body passed by the cold palace. But at that time, there were no residents in the cold palace. Originally, the people living in the cold palace were the concubines of the previous emperor. When the previous emperor died, those concubines were pushed out to be buried with him. Now there is one more resident in the cold palace, but this resident did not intend to live there for a long time. When Su Qingni came to the cold palace, Su Yanzi was tying cloth strips on the beam. "Big sister," Su Qingni said, causing Su Yanzi to stop what she was doing and look at the person at the door of the room in shock. "Qingni," Su Yanzi asked in surprise, "why are you in the palace?" She seemed to have misunderstood something, and her expression suddenly became ferocious. "Did you betray the Su family? Did you surrender to Yi Yunhei?" At this moment, Su Yanzi became extremely irritable and cursed Su Qingni, but the one he cursed the most was the current emperor Yi Yunhei. Su Qingni did not stop Su Yanzi from cursing, but listened quietly, extracting useful information from these curses and piecing together what happened. Perhaps this world is dominated by palace fighting. The Queen Su Yunzi is a big boss that the heroine has to defeat in the story. The heroine is the Emperor Yi Yunhei's new favorite, Ling Jiao Ling Kaiyan. When Yi Yunhei was a prince, he was not the most outstanding one. His talent was only ranked in the middle among the princes. His status was not high or low. He was not a legitimate son, nor was he born to a low-status palace maid. With Yi Yunhei's status and ability, the possibility of becoming an emperor was lower than that of other princes. In addition to good luck, he was able to become emperor because of the support of the general's mansion. It was because he married Su Yunzi that he won the support of the general and became the new emperor. Chapter 970, Cannon Fodder and Palace Fighting. Yi Yunhei is a man who loves face. He got to the top by relying on his father-in-law's family, but he hates people saying that about him. Therefore, he has a grudge against the general's mansion and secretly wants to destroy it. Yi Yunhei also dislikes Su Yunzi, the queen, because of this. He usually doesn't come to see Su Yunzi unless the emperor has to go to the queen's palace on the 1st and 15th day of each month. Su Yunzi loves Yi Yunhei. She doesn't know Yi Yunhei's grudge against her and her family. She just thinks that Yi Yunhei was seduced by other women in the palace. She hates other women in the harem and suppresses the concubines in various ways. Su Yunzi became the chairman of the family planning committee in the palace. If she didn't give birth to a child, others wouldn't be able to give birth to one either. 3 years later, the palace held a new round of talent shows, and Ling Kaiyan entered the palace. This is a very powerful woman. Not only did she win the emperor's favor, but she also used various means to defeat other concubines who stood in her way, and finally confronted Su Yunzi, the big boss in the harem. Ling Kaiyan somehow collected evidence that Su Yunzi had murdered the concubines and their children. The emperor was furious and implicated the Su family with Su Yunzi's crime, taking the opportunity to wipe out the Su family. It can be said that Su Yunzi was the culprit for the extermination of the Su family. Otherwise, with the caution of General Su and his 2 sons, the emperor really couldn't catch them in the court. General Su was a smart man. How could he not see that the emperor was afraid of the Su family? It was just that he thought his daughter was the emperor's queen. Although the emperor was afraid of the Su family, he would not kill the Su family. Who would have thought that the emperor was an ungrateful person who could even abandon his own wife at will? After piecing together the truth, Su Qingni no longer had the idea of taking Su Yunzi away from the palace. This woman would definitely not leave the palace, and she would die in the palace even if she died. And with her level of demonism, Su Qingni didn't want Su Huan to have much contact with her. Su Yunzi had killed so many concubines and unformed fetuses, and was already full of sins. It was time to go down and apologize to those people. Su Qingni turned and left, while Su Yunzi was still cursing inside. Perhaps this time, the cursing and yelling made Su Yunzi vent a lot of the anger in her heart, and she actually gave up the idea of seeking death. She wanted to live, and she still had some hope for the emperor, hoping that the emperor would remember her one day and take her out of the cold palace. This kind of thing has happened before. There was an imperial concubine in this dynasty who had lived in the cold palace for half a year. Later, she was taken out by the emperor and gave birth to a prince. Later, she became the empress dowager. Well, that person is the grandmother of the current emperor. Su Yunzi also wants to be like the emperor's grandmother. Su Qingni went to Gangquan Palace where Ling Jiai was. From Su Yunzi's mouth, Su Qingni heard that Ling Kaiyan was not ordinary and had extraordinary power. She wanted to see what this person was like. Is she a time traveler? Or a reborn person? Warning! Warning! A dangerous person is approaching. Su Qingni sneaked into Ling Kaiyan's bedroom and heard a sharp voice. This sound was not on the air, but in someone's mind. If Su Qingni had not had divine consciousness, she would not have heard this sound. Su Qingni quickly came to the bed, stretched out her hand and pressed the acupoints of the 2 people on the bed, and pressed the other hand on the forehead of the woman on the bed. The next moment, Su Qingni grabbed the ball of white light from the woman's brain. Favorite concubine strategy system. Su Qingni chuckled twice. She remembered that she had torn several such systems. Su Qingni's fingers closed to the palm of her hand, and the ball of light was annihilated in her fist, with only a few broken light spots showing from the gaps between her fingers. Ling Kaiyan's conditions were good. Now that she didn't have the favorite concubine strategy system, her skin just became a little rough and not as shiny as before. Other things didn't look much different, and she was still a beauty. Su Qingni left the palace and took away a lot of treasures from the emperor's private treasury when she left. These were the emperor's rewards to her. You must know that the purpose of those so-called favorite concubine strategy systems is to absorb the emperor's dragon energy, and after absorbing all the dragon energy, they will absorb the country's national destiny. What will happen if the country's fortune is damaged? The world is in chaos, and the country is destroyed. Although Su Qingni has a grudge against this emperor, she will not watch the world in chaos and the people suffer. You said the last world? There was no way to stop it. It would be better to become strong and end the chaos as soon as possible, so that the people can live a stable life as soon as possible. But in this world, there is a way to stop it. To eliminate the root cause of the cholera country, it must be eliminated as soon as possible. Su Qingni felt that she had only taken a few things from the emperor's private treasury and she was at a loss. She could have taken everything in the emperor's treasury. Returning to her residence, seeing that the formation in the yard was intact and had not been touched, Su Qingni returned to her room and went to sleep. The next day, Su Qingni did not go out again and stayed at home to teach Su Horan. Su Horan did not ask anything and tried hard to learn from Su Qingni. 15 years later, Su Horan had passed the imperial examination and entered the Hanlin Academy. With his talent, it was not difficult to get the first or third place in the imperial examination, but Su Horan did not want to be too ostentatious. He was worried that the identities arranged by Su Qingni for them would not withstand investigation, so he only took the second place in the exam in a low-key manner. Su Qingni told Su Horan all the news she got from Su Yunzi. After listening, Su Horan stayed in the study for half a day, and then worked and lived as usual. In order to pass on the bloodline of the Su family, Su Horan married a wife and had children. His wife was just the daughter of a small family, and she had no knowledge. She and Su Horan were just respectful to each other. There was little communication between the couple, and even less affection. His wife Liu spent less time with Su Horan than Liu spent with Su Qingni. Although Su Horan married a wife, he was also on guard against his wife. He was afraid that his wife would leak out after knowing his true identity. In this regard, although Su Qingni sympathized with Liu, she could not say anything, but she was very good to Liu, taught Liu some skills, and let Liu focus on other things and not put too much thought on her husband. In fact, even without Su Qingni's trick, Liu was satisfied with her marriage. She felt that her husband was an official, busy every day, and it was normal that he had no time to accompany her. You know, her father was away on business all year round and spent even less time at home. And when he was at home, he was mostly with those concubines, and almost never went into her mother's yard. Although her husband was so busy that he lived in the study, he didn't even have a maid in the room, and she was the only woman. What else was she dissatisfied with? Isn't the biggest wish of every woman to be alone with her husband? Now she has realized what was written in the poem A Lifetime of a Couple. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 971, Cannon Fodder of Palace Fighting. After that, Liu gave birth to 2 sons and a daughter, which made Liu more satisfied. She had no intention to learn skills from Su Qingni, and her mind was all on the children. Su Qingni let it go. She felt happy, so why should she add fuel to the fire? Women of this era are the same. The husband is the most important, but after giving birth to a son, the husband will be put in the back. After all, a son is a woman's support in the future. Su Horan entrusted all the children to Su Qingni for teaching. His little aunt is extremely powerful. The children will become dragons and phoenixes in the future if they are taught by her. As for him, he must work hard to climb up in the officialdom, become an important person in the court, master power, and become a powerful official that even the emperor can play with. Su Horan has a clear goal. It took him 10 years to become a first-class official in charge of the Ministry of Personnel. The emperor trusts and relies on Su Horan very much. 26 years have passed since the Su family was exterminated. The emperor's sons have grown up, and a new round of succession has begun. Without Su Yunzi, the head of the family planning commission, children continue to be born in the harem. In the first year that Su Yunzi was banished to the cold palace, several women in the harem became pregnant. Originally, Ling Qian wanted to use the props in the favored concubine system to make those women miscarry, and then let herself get pregnant with twins, a good omen. As a result, Su Qingni tore up Ling Qian's favored concubine strategy system, and Ling Qian had no way to attack other women, and could only watch other women give birth to sons and daughters. She couldn't use the system to help her get pregnant with twins, so she could only calculate the ovulation period herself to get pregnant and give birth to a son. But her son was not the prince. Although the emperor still loved her very much at that time, without the help of the system, the emperor was not completely obsessed. Ling Qian was not of high birth and was not qualified to be called the queen. The emperor could only choose a concubine with a high birth and a powerful family from other concubines to be the queen, and the son she gave birth to was named the prince. The emperor doted on Ling Qian in the past few years, but without the cheating cheat, many of Ling Qian's methods were not as good as those of the women in the harem. In addition, the selection every 3 years brought more young and beautiful women into the harem, and the emperor's heart was seduced by them, so his favor for Ling Qian became less and less. Ling Qian felt aggrieved and wanted to kill the emperor directly. But she couldn't. The emperor died, and the prince took the throne. She could only be a concubine. How could she be as comfortable as her own son taking the throne and becoming the empress dowager? Over the years, Ling Qian has been giving advice to her son, asking him to learn from Yuanzhang and pretend to be a good son and a good minister, but secretly instigating other princes to fight the prince and pull him down, so that she and her son can reap the benefits. Ling Qian thought her plan was secretive, but she didn't know that Su Horan had seen through it. Ling Qian was the culprit who caused Su Yunzi to be deposed and the Su family to be confiscated. Su Horan had been keeping an eye on Ling Qian and wanted to find something to hold against her. Su Horan had seen everything she and her son did. Su Horan sneered. This mother and son were a good weapon to deal with the emperor. When the autumn hunt came, the emperor brought a group of ministers and princes and princesses to the West Mountain hunting ground. The emperor actually didn't like horse and bow hunting. He preferred to recite poems and paint. However, autumn hunting was a tradition and the emperor had to come. Because he didn't like it and his horse and bow skills were not good, the emperor only shot one arrow on the first day and shot a sika deer that came specially. He never participated in hunting again. Adult men, on the other hand, like this kind of game. They each brought a group of guards into the mountains and brought back a lot of prey each time to compare with other princes. Su Horan stayed by the emperor's side, listening to the emperor complaining that such a trip was too tiring for him. His thighs hurt from riding a horse, and he had no time to find a beautiful woman for in-depth communication. Su Horan listened with a smile, and after lowering his eyelids, disdain and murderous intent flashed across his eyes. He really felt that his Aunt Su Yunzi's eyes were covered with eye boogers, and she actually fell in love with such a man. Your Majesty, the prince is in trouble. A guard covered in blood ran into the camp, shouting for people to rescue the prince quickly. What happened to the prince? The emperor asked quickly. The prince encountered a pack of wolves. Although the emperor was a little dissatisfied with the prince now, the prince was the crown prince after all, and a very important existence in the country. It was impossible for him to let the prince die. Besides, he was his own son after all. The emperor quickly sent a team of people to rescue the prince. The prince was rescued, but he was only slightly injured, but the 12th prince died. The 12th prince accidentally encountered the prince surrounded by wolves. He wanted to escape, but he was a step too late and was bitten to death by the wolves. Ling Qian and her eldest son, the 4th prince, rushed over after hearing the news. When they saw the body of the 12th prince, Ling Qian fainted immediately and the 4th prince was in disbelief. The 12th prince was Ling Qian's youngest son. He had a good relationship with the 4th prince and supported his brother to take the throne. The 4th prince also liked this younger brother very much. He thought that the brothers would work together to break the iron in the future, but he didn't expect that the 12th prince would die. The 4th prince turned his angry eyes to the prince. Why didn't the prince die? He and his mother had calculated that the prince should die. Why was the 12th prince involved? Why did the 12th prince die? The 4th prince turned his angry eyes to the 3rd prince again. The wolf pack was attracted by the 3rd prince's people. Why did he have omissions in his work? He didn't kill the people who should be killed, but implicated innocent people? Su Horan saw the reactions of the 4th prince in Ling Qian, and the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. Because of the death of the 12th prince, the autumn hunt had turned hastily. Everyone hurried back to the capital. No one dared to complain, they all felt that a storm was coming. Because of the death of the 12th prince, the emperor was very dissatisfied with the crown prince. Regardless of the fact that the crown prince was still recovering from his injuries, he issued an edict to reprimand the crown prince. The crown prince was furious after receiving the reprimand. It was obviously not his fault. Why did his father reprimand him? Even if he had to reprimand him, he should reprimand the mastermind who led the wolf pack to harm him, because he was the victim. What does Lord Su have to say? The crown prince asked the eunuch beside him. The eunuch whispered back, Lord Su said that the emperor is old and afraid. The Lord Su mentioned by the two was Su Horan. As the most trusted minister of the emperor, how could the prince not want to win him over? The crown prince had already had contact with Su Horan, but Su Horan said that in order to prevent the emperor from discovering their relationship and thus being more afraid of the crown prince, he had been communicating with the crown prince in secret. The only people who knew about their relationship were this eunuch and a secret guard who was responsible for communication between the two parties. Chapter 972, Cannon Fodder and Palace Fighting. Su Horan received the message from the prince and smiled. After the prince's secret guards left, Su Horan sent out his confidants to send out several messages. Not long after, the other adult princes received a message, the prince will launch a mutiny. On the night of July 15th, the moon was very round and bright, illuminating the streets very brightly. However, there were no pedestrians on the street. It was not dark yet, and everyone hid in their homes. On July 15th, the ghost gate opened, and no one would go out at night, for fear of being hooked by ghosts. But this year's July 15th was different. At midnight, footsteps were heard on the street. From the sound, it was not the footsteps of one person, but the footsteps of a large group of people. The footsteps sounded very neat, as if their owners had been trained. The footsteps seemed particularly abrupt in the quiet night, and many people were awakened by the footsteps. However, no one got up to check the situation. Some people with big brains thought it was a ghost patrolling the city. They listened to the footsteps passing by the door of their house and went in the direction of the palace. Soon after, shouts and screams were heard from the direction of the palace, and the fire there lit up half the sky. Su Horan was sitting in his study, with a chessboard in front of him. Su Horan held the black piece in one hand and the white piece in the other, playing chess with himself. Su Horan picked up a chess piece and placed it on a point on the chessboard, then picked up another chess piece that was surrounded and killed. This is the third prince. Su Horan threw the chess piece away and picked up another dead chess piece. This is the prince. In the palace, the prince, whose plan was ruined by several younger brothers, drew out his longsword and stabbed the third prince whom he hated the most. The third prince thought he was the winner and was complacent. He did not expect the prince to make such a move, and did not react for a while. The guards around him were stopped by the other prince's men intentionally or unintentionally, and could only watch the prince's sword pierce into the body of the third prince. Drawing out the sword, the prince turned the hilt, placed the sword across his neck, and slashed it fiercely. Su Horan continued to place his pieces in anticipation, and continued to pick up one dead chess piece after another from anticipation. This is the fifth prince. This is the sixth prince. After a night, the palace finally returned to peace, but the thick smell of blood hung in the air and could not dissipate for a long time. The emperor appeared in the court with a very bad face. He looked like he was 20 years older and his spirit was extremely depressed. No one dared to say anything during the entire court meeting, and the court was dispersed soon. Su Horan did not leave the palace, and was called into the imperial study with several of the emperor's confidants. In the imperial study, the emperor asked the people around him to tell Su Horan and other ministers in detail what happened last night, and then asked everyone, "What do you think?" The ministers looked at each other, and their eyes all fell on Su Horan. This person is the most trusted and valued minister of the emperor, and he should speak first. Su Horan pretended to cough and said to the emperor, "Your Majesty, do you suspect that the fourth prince did something in this matter? Is he the fisherman who benefited?" This question touched the emperor's heart. They all came out of the struggle for the throne. Although his own path was smoother, the emperor knew clearly about the means by which the princes calculated against each other. Although the fourth prince was very innocent and had not participated in this incident from beginning to end, the emperor did not believe that the fourth prince was really innocent. He only felt that this son's means were higher than other sons, and he would be more afraid of this son. Did the fourth prince think that he was the only surviving adult prince, and the emperor would choose him as the prince? It's a wishful thinking. The emperor is only in his 40s now, still in his prime, and he feels that he can be the emperor for another 20 or 30 years. Why was he dissatisfied with the prince before? It was because he felt that the prince was too old and threatened his position. Now that the prince and other adult princes are gone, the emperor is sad, but also relaxed. Anyway, he still has a young son, and he can have another son in the future. There are enough sons, but there is only one throne. If the fourth prince also died in this incident, the emperor would shed 2 tears for this son. But he is alive and well now, and the emperor is not only not happy, but feels that he is extremely annoying. Su Qingni knows the emperor so well, how could he not know the emperor's mind? Leaving the fourth prince is just to annoy the emperor. And the fourth prince also has a bold, cruel and ambitious mother, which is enough for the emperor to drink a pot. After listening to Su Qingni's words, the emperor nodded. The prince and other princes have such a big move, I don't believe that the fourth prince will not notice it. I suspect that the fourth prince has also intervened in it. Su Qingni said, since the emperor has doubts, it is better to let someone investigate secretly. When there is a result, consider how to deal with the fourth prince. The emperor nodded and accepted Su Qingni's opinion. The emperor has his own secret power. He did not hand over the investigation of the fourth prince to Su Qingni and other ministers, fearing that there are ministers who are colluding with the fourth prince and the fourth prince will find out that he is investigating him. But the emperor's secret forces are different. The secret forces are only loyal to the emperor and are secretive. The fourth prince will not find them. The emperor did not know that Su Qingni had already noticed these secret forces with his profound skills, and followed the clues to their base camp and subdued these secret forces. Although these secret forces are loyal to the emperor on the surface, they have already become Su Qingni's men. Su Qingni handed over the evidence that the fourth prince secretly instigated the third prince to lead the wolf pack to kill the prince, which resulted in the death of the 12th prince, and instigated other princes to participate in the prince's mutiny to the secret forces and asked them to pass it to the emperor. After seeing these evidences, the emperor was indeed very angry and afraid of the fourth prince, and felt that the fourth prince was ambitious. The next day, when he went to court, the emperor found an excuse to reprimand the fourth prince and punished him to reflect on his mistakes behind closed doors. It was not determined when he would come out, which was a disguised way of putting the fourth prince under house arrest. The fourth prince did not understand why the emperor treated him like this, and he was still dreaming of becoming a prince. The emperor's move confused her. The fourth prince couldn't figure it out, so he asked someone to secretly ask his mother for advice, hoping that Niangniang would find out from the emperor how he had angered the emperor. Niangniang didn't ask the emperor, because she had a maid who was in love with the eunuch next to the emperor. No one else knew about this except her, the maid and the eunuch. Niangniang got a lot of information about the emperor through the eunuch, and then revealed it to the fourth prince. The fourth prince was able to gain a foothold in the court and do everything in accordance with the emperor's wishes over the years, all thanks to this information. Chapter 973, Cannon Fodder and Palace Fighting. The emperor never doubted the eunuch around him. This eunuch had been with him since he was a child. He thought that the eunuch was very loyal to him and never thought that the eunuch would betray himself for a woman. Niangniang learned from the eunuch that the emperor was suspicious of the fourth prince, and that the emperor had someone secretly investigate the fourth prince. The fourth prince could not be investigated. Although the things he did were secret, they could never be hidden from the emperor's secret guards. Niangniang's fingers tapped unconsciously on the table, and she began to think about a crazy plan in her heart. Niangniang had long wanted to kill the emperor and let her son take the throne. Mu Huan was her idol. However, she was neither the queen nor the emperor's favorite concubine before, and her son was not the prince. If she killed the emperor, her son would not be able to take the throne. She suppressed this idea. But now the emperor's adult prince is only her son. Without the prince, her son has the best chance of taking the throne. The emperor is also afraid of her son, and the emperor will deal with her son next. How can that be? She must become the queen mother. The emperor could only die. The emperor soon got the results of the investigation into the fourth prince. Seeing that many of his sons died because of the fourth prince's tricks, the emperor's face showed murderous intent. Your Majesty, have a cup of tea to calm down. The eunuch brought a cup of hot tea. The emperor took the tea and drank it, without seeing the guilt in the eunuch's eyes. Send Su Qingni, XXX, XXX, to the palace to see me. The emperor gave an order. These people were all the emperor's confidants, and one of them was the commander of the imperial guards. The emperor was going to take action against a fourth prince. The eunuch agreed and turned away. But he did not ask the eunuch to find Su Qingni and others, but asked someone to notify Ling Qian. Ling Qian immediately rushed to the emperor's imperial study after receiving the news. She didn't know that even if the eunuch didn't ask someone to find Su Qingni and others, Su Qingni had brought several other ministers into the palace. In the imperial study, the emperor only felt dizzy and fell to the ground. When he regained consciousness, he found himself lying on the couch in the imperial study, with Ling Qian sitting beside him. Seeing Ling Qian, the biological mother of the fourth prince, the emperor thought she was here to plead for the fourth prince. He opened his mouth to scold Ling Qian, but was shocked to find that he could not make a sound. Not only that, he could not even move his hands and feet, and only his neck could turn. The emperor stared at Ling Qian. He felt that the woman in front of him must have been the cause of his becoming like this. Ling Qian smiled softly at the emperor and said, "Your Majesty, you must have had a stroke. Don't worry, I will have someone take good care of you. As for the affairs of the court, you don't have to worry, Ziosi will help you share the burden." The emperor gritted his teeth at Ling Qian. Stroke? He has always been in good health, how could he have a stroke? He must have been tricked by this woman. But how did she reach out to him? The emperor's doubts were clear when he saw the eunuch respectfully to Ling Qian. He shot a death ray at the eunuch in his eyes. He never thought that the eunuch who had been with him for more than 30 years and whom he trusted most would betray him. The emperor thought of the cup of tea that the eunuch had given him before, and thought that it was the problem of that cup of tea that made him become like this. Maybe he was too excited to think that he was about to become the empress dowager, or maybe he felt that the emperor would never be able to stir up trouble in this state. Ling Qian was quite interested in sex. Seeing the death look the emperor gave the eunuch, she smiled softly and said, "Emperor, don't blame eunuch Li. He just chose a wife between you and his wife. You want to ask who his wife is? Come, let me introduce you to Hongxiang who is beside me. Hongxiang and eunuch Li are childhood sweethearts. Now they are old, and it's time for them to get married, so that they can support each other in the future. I have agreed with them that when Ziosi ascends the throne, they will be allowed to leave the palace and live the life of an ordinary couple." The emperor became even more angry when he heard this. The eunuch actually betrayed him for a woman. What's the use of a woman for him as a eunuch? Live an ordinary couple's life? Haha, can he live like that? Isn't he afraid that his wife will despise him for being useless and cheating on him? Ling Qian was too proud of herself and said out loud what she had been thinking and calculating for these years. If you were not the emperor, do you think I would like you? I hate the public cucumbers the most. If it were not for the emperor's son, I would have wanted to destroy you a long time ago. The emperor stared at Ling Qian angrily. This woman, if he ever recovers, he will definitely cut this woman into pieces. Facing the emperor's eyes that wanted to kill her, Ling Qian smiled lightly and said, "Your Majesty, don't think too much. The medicine you were poisoned with is a divine object from outer space that I got. No one can cure the medicine. You, just lie in bed for the rest of your life." As soon as she finished speaking, the door of the study was pushed open from the outside. Ling Qian was shocked and angry, and shouted, "How dare you? Didn't I say that you are not allowed to be disturbed?" Then a cold voice came in. The concubine Shu is the one who is so bold that she actually drugged His Majesty. Ling Qian was shocked. It was Su Qingni. How did he enter the palace? Did eunuch Li send someone to notify them? Ling Qian stood up suddenly and turned towards the door. The emperor also looked at the door expectantly, and saw Su Qingni and several of the emperor's confidants striding into the imperial study. A team of imperial guards followed behind them. The eunuchs and palace maids outside the imperial study had been restrained by the imperial guards. After entering the study, the imperial guards immediately restrained the eunuch and his concubine in the room and dragged them out. The eunuch was like a dead dog. He knew he was finished. He didn't want a wife anymore. The emperor would definitely cut him into pieces. At this time, he regretted it. Why did he betray the emperor for a woman? You know, the emperor is the big boss in the palace. Even if he falls, there are still ministers in the court. Concubine Shu is just a woman in the harem. She plotted against the emperor by insidious means, but no one in the previous dynasty gave her face. When the emperor saw Su Qingni and others, his eyes lit up and he could make a sound. Although it was just an ah, Ah sound, it was much better than being dumb before. Your Majesty. Su Horn led the ministers to pay their respects to the emperor. The emperor responded with two ah sounds, and turned his gaze to Lin Qian, with an unusually fierce look. Su Horn understood the meaning in the emperor's eyes and said, Shu Fei plotted to murder your majesty and drugged your majesty. This crime is unforgivable. The emperor continued to to express his agreement. Su Horn looked at Lin Qian, with hatred and contempt in his eyes, and said, Shu Fei is your majesty's concubine after all. How to deal with her still needs your majesty to decide. Chapter 974, Cannon Fodder 7 in the Palace Fighting Story. Send concubine Shu to the cold palace and let her fend for herself. Your majesty, please blink. Give concubine Shu death. Your majesty, please blink twice. The emperor blinked twice upon hearing this. Su Horn continued to ask for the emperor's opinion. Give her white silk, please blink once. Give her poison wine, please blink twice. Cut her into pieces, please blink 5 times. The emperor blinked 5 times quickly. Su Horn smiled and ordered, first, keep concubine Shu in custody and wait for an auspicious day to execute her. Lin Qian was already scared. She was cruel and ruthless to others, but in fact, she was not very courageous. She always thought that she was a time traveler and a heroine, and she didn't treat other people as human beings, but only as NPCs that could be disposed of at will, so she would treat them however she wanted. She didn't think that her methods were cruel at all. She believed that she had the aura of the heroine and would not die. But now, she found that the heroine's halo did not exist at all. She would die, and in the most horrible way. She was really scared, very, very scared. No, you can't do this to me. I am the mother of the 4th prince. When the 4th prince ascends the throne, I will be the queen mother. Can you be so disrespectful to the queen mother? Everyone in the study sneered. Still want to be the queen mother? Dream on. The 4th prince can't even protect himself. Using the blinking communication method, Su Horn and the emperor confirmed the fate of the 4th prince. Although the 4th prince plotted against so many brothers, the emperor did not want him to die because he was his son. At most, he was demoted to commoner and sent to guard the imperial mausoleum. But Lin Qian poisoned the emperor, turning him into a disabled person. The emperor hated them mother and son. Not only did he want Lin Qian to be cut into pieces, but he also ordered the life of the 4th prince. Although the imperial physician tried his best to treat him, because the poison was too strong, Lin Qian had exchanged it from the concubine strategy system before, and people in this world had no way to solve it. The emperor could only move above the waist at most, and his legs were completely disabled. He could also speak, but his throat would hurt if he spoke too much. Such an emperor was not much better than before, and he was still a disabled person and could not continue to be an emperor. In the end, the emperor had to abdicate and become the emperor emeritus, and chose a son as the new emperor. The new emperor was only 8 years old, still a child, and he could not be expected to handle the government affairs. The emperor emeritus' physical condition was not able to handle the troubles of government affairs, and he needed to rest. So Su Horn naturally became one of the regents. And at his suggestion, the cabinet was established. Su Horn heard about the cabinet system from Su Qingni. Su Horn also heard about the existence of the parliamentary system and other systems that divided the emperor's power. Su Horn wanted to make the royal family a mascot and wanted them to no longer have the power of life and death. But he would not be impatient. He would take it step by step and slowly make changes. He believed that one day he would achieve his goal. Su Horn walked along the small road in the palace, very leisurely. No one came out to stop him and said he couldn't go anywhere. Now Su Horn can go anywhere he wants. The guards are all his people, and he also controls more than half of the eunuchs and palace maids in the palace. Why did he wait nearly 30 years to start revenge? Isn't it because he wants to secretly lay out and control more forces and manpower? Su Horn walked slowly along a road, getting more and more remote, and came to the outside of a palace that had been abandoned for a long time. However, there was smoke coming out of the palace, which showed that someone lived inside. Su Horn pushed open the old wooden door and walked into the yard. He saw a simple earthen stove in the yard, and an old woman who looked to be in her 60s was cooking something in a broken casserole. Su Horn couldn't see what was cooked in the pot, but he thought it would definitely not be something very good. Su Horn looked up and down at the old woman, sighed in his heart, and his original hatred for this person also disappeared a little. although he still hated the woman in front of him. If this woman had not chosen to marry the emperor without vision, how could she drag the Su family, which originally did not participate in the struggle for imperial power, into the muddy water? If this woman had not acted recklessly after becoming the queen, how could the Su family, who had always been cautious and afraid of being caught by the emperor, have been so cautious? The emperor and Lin Qian were the great enemies who harmed the Su family, and the woman in front of him was the real culprit who caused the Su family to be destroyed. However, she also had the blood of the Su family, and Su Horan could not treat her like he did to the emperor and Lin Qian. The woman also saw Su Horan, and she was very puzzled that someone would come to the cold palace. Moreover, this person was wearing the official robes of a first-rank official, and was an important official of the court. How did he run to the harem? "Who are you?" the woman asked. She had not spoken for a long time, and her voice became hoarse and unpleasant. "I am Su Horan," Su Horan said coldly. Su. The woman was stunned when she heard this very familiar surname, and the long-lost memory returned to her mind. "I remember my eldest brother's son was named Horan." "Su Horan," the woman said. "It's amazing that you still remember your eldest brother," Su Horan said coldly. "Because of your reckless behavior, the Su family was destroyed. Do you regret it? Do you feel guilty? Are you really Horan?" When the woman heard Su Horan's words, her wooden face changed. She rushed to Su Horan's side, grabbed one of Su Horan's arms and looked him up and down. "You are Horan, you look like my eldest brother." The woman's tears flowed. "You are still alive, it's really great." Su Horan pulled out his arm indifferently. He didn't come to see the woman to talk about family affection with her. "I'm here to tell you that Lin Qian will be beaten to death in 3 days. If you want to see it, you can go to the outside of the Ministry of Punishment to watch." Cutting into pieces was too troublesome, and it was indeed too much. In the end, everyone changed Lin Qian's punishment to beating to death. "Lin Qian is going to die? She is going to die." The woman widened her eyes and couldn't help laughing. "Why is she still alive? She is so hard-working and still trying to live. Isn't it just to see the end of her enemy?" The woman laughed crazily. Su Horan sighed and turned to leave the cold palace. 3 days later, Su Yanzi went to the Ministry of Punishment and saw Lin Qian being beaten to death with her own eyes. She also went to see the retired emperor. Seeing the retired emperor turned into a useless person, Su Yanzi laughed even more happily. Then she returned to the cold palace. The cold palace where she had lived for more than 20 years was equivalent to her home. She didn't want to leave the cold palace and still lived in the cold palace. Su Horan ordered the palace servants to take better care of Su Yanzi. After that, Su Yanzi ate white rice and her bed was much softer than before. However, Su Yanzi did not live long. She died in the cold palace in just half a year. Chapter 975 The female supporting character of the house fighting true love story. The emperor did not live long, as the poison did great harm to him. 2 years later, the emperor died. Su Horan completely controlled the government and began to make changes with the support of a group of ministers. The cabinet was expanded to become a parliament, the imperial power was divided, and the emperor became a mascot. The status of ordinary people was improved, and the slogan of democracy was shouted out. Su Horan took out the information on agriculture and industry prepared by Su Qingni for him, and vigorously developed the country's agriculture and industry so that the people of this country could have enough food and warm clothes. After that, he opened a school to teach children knowledge and skills so that there would be no more illiterates in the country. Su Horan devoted his life to the reform and construction of the country. He made great achievements. The people admired and respected him, and he left a strong mark in the history of history. Thousands of years later, people filmed many TV series and movies with Su Horan as the protagonist, and Su Qingni, the little ant who rescued Su Horan from the exile team and raised him, was one of the important female supporting roles in TV series and movies. "I have crossed over to the dividing line of another world." Su Qingni sneezed, and her head felt dizzy. "This body has a fever." Looking at the surrounding environment, she stood at the foot of the wall of a large house with a suitcase beside her. "Is this going home? Or leaving?" Su Qingni glanced at the small corner door 10 meters away and decided to leave first and accept the memory. Following the little regret left by the original body, Su Qingni avoided people and did not find an inn to stay in, but came to an abandoned house. Entering the house, Su Qingni found a room that was relatively intact and could block the wind, sat down and began to practice. After a week, Su Qingni cultivated a trace of internal energy and drove away the cold air that invaded her body. The temperature of her body returned to normal, and Su Qingni began to receive memories. The memory of the original body made Su Qingni's mouth twitch. Did she cross over to some bloody love novel again? The original body is a lady from a rich family, but her biological father is not a good one. Her biological mother died early, and her stepmother and stepsister have a bad relationship with her. There are two wealthy families in the town where the original body lives, namely Su Bancheng's family and Guan's family. The original body's father is Su Bancheng. He is determined to annex the Guan family and turn Su Bancheng into Su Quancheng, so he married his daughter to Guan Pengju, the current head of the Guan family, as a tool, in order to control the Guan family through his daughter. However, the Guan family is not a vegetarian. They know Su Bancheng's thoughts, so how could they not be on guard? The original body, the nominal head of the family, is just a decoration. She can't touch the housekeeper's power in the Guan mansion. The housekeeper's power of the Guan family was first held by Guan Pengju's mother, and later handed over to Guan Pengju's concubine. The original body's position in the Guan family is very embarrassing. Even since the day of the wedding, Guan Pengju has never entered the original body's room and consummated the marriage with the original body. The original body doesn't care about this. She doesn't like Guan Pengju in her heart. She likes Guan Pengju's elder brother Guan Pengfei. Guan Pengfei is a bastard, so after the death of Mr. Guan, the position of the head of the family was handed over to Guan Pengju, the legitimate son, and Guan Pengfei assisted Guan Pengju. Guan Pengfei and Guan Pengju have a good brotherly relationship. Guan Pengfei has not married yet and has been living in the old house of Guan's family. The original body met Guan Pengfei because of a hero saving a beauty. Guan Pengfei helped the original body resolve the entanglement of street thugs. He didn't care about it, but the original body fell in love with Guan Pengfei at first sight. However, the original body's marriage did not allow her to make her own decisions. She was reluctantly married to Guan Pengju. As a result, after marrying into the Guan family, she found that the person she liked was actually her husband's eldest brother. This blow was not small for the original body. Therefore, Guan Pengju did not consummate the marriage with the original body, but the original body was relieved. She silently paid attention to Guan Pengfei's actions and hid her love in her heart. Her husband did not like her and did not perform the Zhaoyang ceremony with her, which was exactly what she wanted. She felt that such a life was also pretty good, and she could often see the person she liked. However, the appearance of a woman brought great changes to the peaceful life of the original body. This girl made the original body jealous. This girl is called Si Minrao, the daughter of the Guan family's housekeeper, and she is a childhood sweetheart with Guan Pengfei and Guan Pengju. Si Minrao is a girl who likes to read and study, and the housekeeper and his wife love her very much. Knowing that she likes to read, they sent her to girls' school. Si Minrao studied in a girls' school before, so the original body did not see her. This time, Si Minrao's father lost his life when he encountered bandits while he was out on business, and Si Minrao had to come back to handle the funeral for his father. Moreover, the head of her family died, and her brother and sister-in-law didn't like Si Minrao to waste the family's money to study, so Si Minrao never went to school again. Si Minrao stayed at home and spent more time with Guan Pengju and Guan Pengfei, and their feelings were placed in front of everyone. Guan Pengju and Si Minrao liked each other since childhood, but because of Si Minrao's family background, she could not become Guan Pengju's wife. Si Minrao didn't want to be someone's concubine, so she kept hiding from Guan Pengju. But after returning home this time, she was able to meet Guan Pengju almost every day, and the relationship became even hotter. In the end, Si Minrao was reluctant to leave Guan Pengju and agreed to be his concubine. In order to show his importance to Si Minrao, Guan Pengju even held a wedding ceremony and worshipped Si Minrao, without considering the face of the original body, the legal wife. The original body didn't care about these things, and her mind was all on Guan Pengfei. Guan Pengfei also liked Si Minrao, but Si Minrao married his younger brother. She would rather be his younger brother's concubine than his legal wife, which was a big blow to Guan Pengfei. On the day of Guan Pengju and Si Minrao's wedding, Guan Pengfei took a jar of wine to drown his sorrows. Seeing that there was no one around Guan Pengfei, the original body sent away the people who served him, came to Guan Pengfei, and drank with Guan Pengfei. The two drank too much and then rolled together. After that, Guan Pengfei began to hide from the original body. Although the original body wanted to find Guan Pengfei, She could not do so openly due to her status. She wanted to find Guan Pengfei secretly, but Guan Pengfei avoided her and she could not see him at all. The original body was sad. She knew that Guan Pengfei did not like her, and what happened that day was an accident. Guan Pengfei did not want to continue the kind of relationship with her, and she was helpless but had no choice. The original body wanted to accept her fate, but found out that she was pregnant. The original body had never been married to Guan Pengju. If her pregnancy was exposed, there would be no place for her in the whole town. The original body was desperate and finally stopped Guan Pengfei. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.